What is going on, people of the internet? Dinga and DeRosa, we're back. We have a bracket. Let's do this thing. Chris, talk to the people. How you doing?
Yeah, doing well. Michael and myself were both down, we're up, I should say, at MSG for the Big East tournament this last week. So today and parts of yesterday after I got back, were pure recovery. Got through work. Thought about the bracket the entire time. How are you? How are you?
I'm doing well. I was able to sleep in a bed with Chris Thedinga. That was pretty hot. And then,
Oh yeah, that's a rare thing people get to do. So it's
come
good for
on.
you.
And I'm one of the lucky few. Like, that's as good as it's going to get. Then look, I had to travel. My travel back. Oh, this was fun. I don't know if the people know this. I got a train out of NYC after the final. My train left at midnight. It got to DC at 6 a.m. Then I flew from DC to Indy at 10 a.m. Plane landed at 12. So I traveled all day, and I just didn't sleep because I can't sleep on stuff like that. So it was fun. And now we have a bracket, baby.
That sounds horrific. Trains, by the way, this is my first week ever using a train. Crazy stuff. Transportation publicly. Who would have thought, huh? Crazy. Before we get into the bracket, right off the top here's a quick word from our friends over at Rhythm. You already know March is filled with unpredictability, thrilling upsets, and madness all around. But what if an AI could help you craft an awesome bracket and win some bets? Enter Rhythm, the AI sports betting app for player props and game picks. Rhythm stands at the forefront of innovation, offering sports enthusiasts a cutting-edge tool to elevate their March Madness experience. The app leverages data sets, historical trends, player statistics, and more to help craft a perfect bracket and picks for you. If you head to the link in our bio on House Enterprise and also, I believe, House of College Hoops, you can sign up free to build your perfect bracket and help you conquer March. That's Rhythm, RITHMM, the double M. Yeah, it's a really cool thing. We were able to play around with it earlier this week a little bit. And the world of AI, we're not going to get too off track, but crazy stuff out there, even outside of the sports world. Maybe we can. We need off-season topics, so we'll do that. But
good call.
no, it's Rhythm. It's awesome. Go check it out. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, awesome. Let's do it. Hey, and now we have a bracket to break down. Let's do this shit. All right. Ooh, you want to see a high-tech Dinga and DeRosa production? Bam! Ho! That's right. It's on the screen now. Come on. Pretty good.
We're so back.
Pretty good.
Wow. Screw the banners. Fuck yeah. Fuck the banners. We have the entire bracket this time. Oh,
look at what we can do. Also,
wow.
Bang. Oh, that's for later though. Oh, Trev did this, by the way. Shout out Trev. We can actually just have that on the bottom line as we're doing this. Yes, I am producing the show as I'm talking about it. UConn's the 1 seed in this game. UConn Stetson. We're picking UConn, right?
Yeah. I do love the Hatters, and kudos to them for winning an absolute crazy conference tournament, but they don't play defense, and that doesn't get you very far against UConn, who's the best team in the country.
UConn puts up 100. This game, though, FAU, we can do like the little pods. We're going to have UConn winning this, whatever, so I'll just do that right now. But who do we have between FAU and Northwestern? I want to hear your thoughts on this one. I think this game's interesting, Chris.
Can I go on one quick FAU-related tangent?
Sure.
FAU exceptionally overseeded here as an 8. Utah State and FAU are on the same seed line, and that's an absolute abomination. Real quick, FAU, they have one top 40 KenPom win, 5 sub 100 losses. Utah State, on the other hand, 5 top 40 wins and 0 sub 100 losses. So 5 less really bad losses and 4 more really good wins. And they have a better record overall. They're 27-6, where FAU is just 25-8. It's unbelievable. I could not make sense of that. I was mad about the Big East stuff. I thought we deserved more than 3 bids, but this was the one that was like, holy shit. Like, how did you come to this conclusion? Because there is no computer in America that could tell you FAU was one of the top, what would that be? 32 teams?
Yeah. So
the top 8 seeds.
Ridiculous.
So bad. With that being said, they're better than Northwestern. They'll win the game.
Agreed. I agree with literally everything you said. Boo Booey is amazing. He is a trooper. He is a warrior. The rest of that roster, nothing. Just nothing.
Yeah, they FAU, they allow the 3rd lowest assists on field goals made in the country. They just defend ball movement really, really well. They make you kind of isolate and take them one-on-one. I mean, Boo Buie has that capability, but without Tiberi kind of installating a lot of the offense, I don't know, man. I just don't see it with Northwestern. Give me FAU to roll.
And I think FAU is just depth up and down the roster or something that's going to give Northwestern problems. Just their speed at all, 4 positions, and Vlad Golden's good inside. And then they kind of switch it up with Rosado off the bench. I just think they create problems for Northwestern. I think they're better. So I'm glad we agree there. I know we're going to get into an argument about this game that my cursor's highlighted over right now. So we'll just start with San Diego State UAB. We'll just go.
I'll take this one first. The key here, I did think about the Blazers, and this was kind of a toss-up for me a little bit. But San Diego State forces a ton of tough threes. Usually you look at a team that gives up a bunch of three-point attempts. Probably not a great defense. It's just the ones that San Diego State gives up just aren't high-quality looks from deep. Mm-hmm. And UAB just doesn't shoot at a high clip. They shoot at 223rd in the nation from beyond the arc. I don't know. I think they'll end up settling for a lot of bad shots. San Diego State's defense is fantastic. And Jaden Ledee, if you haven't watched the Aztecs, one of the more just destructive forces down low. Can't defend him.
Yeah, UAB is a good offense, but it's really because they get to the free throw line a ton and they offensively rebound really well. I think San Diego State can take both those things away. I think this game sets up pretty well for San Diego State. So we both agree San Diego State. Tell me why you're wrong in the next game.
Boy.
Your pick
All right.
Terrible in this one.
We got Auburn and Yale here, guys. And
oh boy. That's how
Yale.
Up.
The Ivy League winner. Let me tell you. This is not your typical Ivy League team, okay? What do you look for in a team that has the capability to win a couple big-time upsets in March? Here's what I look for, all right? I look for a team that can get hot from three. And Yale has 2 guys, August Mahoney and John Polakidis, both shoot it at about 40%. Mahoney's at 45% from 3. And then I look for both a rim protector. Danny Wolf is 7'1" down low. He's just kind of a brute force defensively.
You think he's gonna stop Janae Broom?
I think he could hold him in check. Sure.
Oh, give your fucking head a shake. Keep going.
I don't know. In their games in the non-con against good teams, like against Kansas, Dickinson didn't really do anything against Yale. Hunter Dickinson against Yale, 8 points. 8 points. And I think Hunter Dickinson's better than Janae Broom.
It's rare that you think Hunter Dickinson's better than someone, so I'll give him that.
Right. And then outside of that, so you have the big guy down low that can hang with, the more physical team. You have the 3-point shooters. They also have Bez Mbang on manning the helm at point guard. He's a 2-time Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year. He's really athletic. He can stick with Holloway, I think. The Aiden Holloway, the freshman phenom for Auburn. I think it just sets up really well for you.
Yeah, I disagree with every single thing he said. Let's start here on his point of Yale being this awesome 3-point shooting team. They shoot 34% from 3. They're pretty mediocre at it, like solid enough, but they don't shoot many threes at all. They get most of their offense from inside the arc. 54.9% of their offense comes from 2s. That is 59th in the country. Ranked 201 from 3s and 337 from the free throw line. A lot of their offense comes from inside the arc, and you're going to need to do that against a team that is more athletic, more long, more physically strong, all of that sort of thing. I think Auburn is designed to suffocate a team like this. Not to mention, Auburn's 4th in KenPom. I know you love KenPom. They're 1st in effective field goal defense in the country. 1st in the country at effective field goal defense. I think if Yale wants even a chance to win this game, they're going to have to draw a ton of fouls, which is something Auburn struggles with. They foul a ton, but Auburn's bigger, stronger, faster. They move the ball better. Everything they do is better. I'm very confident Auburn wins this game. So I don't know what we're going to do in our bracket. I'm not going to lie. This is our first disagreement.
Yeah. I don't know I don't know what the procedure is when we split, but I really think,
do we just want to blindly pick the upset every time we split?
I think we should probably blindly pick the higher seed, but
all right, blindly pick the higher seed. Then it's Auburn. It's the new rule. Here we go. Bracketing.
For what it's worth, though, everyone, I did pick Yale, and I picked Yale to win a second game against San Diego State.
I can tell you we will probably have Auburn winning a second game because I have them winning a couple more games. Next up,
a couple.
A little more here. The Mighty Mormons, my guys at BYU, take on DeQuents, as some people I've seen call them, the Duquesne Dukes. Chris, what are your thoughts here as I pick up my little band?
Duquesne's just not an 11 seed. It was lazy by the committee to keep him there. Honestly, I think VCU was going to be the 11, and then they lost to Duquesne, and so they were just like, well, I mean, fuck, it's Saturday here, it's Sunday afternoon. Let's just keep him there. Nobody will notice. And BYU, by the way, I think BYU is better than a 6 seed.
So this is actually an interesting point. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Because the Mormons can't play on Sundays, like at all. They would be seated where Gonzaga was. Like that's where they fell on the S curve. They fell number 17. But since they can't play on Sundays, the committee had to move them to a spot where they wouldn't play on Sunday in the first round and the second round. And where Gonzaga actually doesn't play on Sunday, the first round, if they were to win 2 games, the Mormons would have had to play on Sunday, which is something they can't do. So they had to move them down to a 6 seed to accommodate that.
So I could have had the opportunity to pick McNeese over BYU, a team that I perennially love to fade. That's so annoying. Okay. Yeah. I got BYU. Their ball movement is fantastic. As much as I love to hate on them, I'll let you wax poetic on your man down under there.
Yes, the Mighty Mormons. Oh, I love this team. Yeah, they're going to absolutely dice this Duquesne defense. I actually agree with Chris when he says the committee just was like, yeah, this was VCU's spot, but I guess Duquesne didn't taste it. And it works because BYU was underseeded solely because of the Mormons in it. BYU moves the ball so well offensively. I mean, my goodness, watching this team play is so much fun. They shoot a ton of threes. They're going to hit a ton of threes in this game, and they just kind of dice you. Like everyone on the floor for them at all times is a great passer. They have head on a swivel at all times. They move the ball super well, and I just think they're going to beat the piss out of this Duquesne team. I think these teams are on different stratospheres at this point. Credit to Duquesne for making the tournament, and they're a very good defense, 28th in Ken Bomb. But this is a different kind of offense they are facing. This is a team that will just get good looks after good looks and run a ton of continuity action. I feel like Duquesne won their Super Bowl by making the tournament. Their coach retired already. No, you're not beating the Mighty Mormons. I have the Mighty Mormons in this game. I have already bet the Mighty Mormons at -7.5. That line is not -7.5 anymore. I believe it's like 9 now.
Yeah, the Mighty 9.5 out there. Yeah.
The Mighty Mormons take this game. The Mighty Mormons take this one fairly confidently. Do we have any takes on Illinois Moorhead?
No. Moorhead to me just doesn't have the giant killer formula. Riley Minix and Drew Thelwell are 2 of the backcourt pieces that end up having the ball a lot in their hands, and neither of them really shoot it all that well from beyond the arc and down low. I think Coleman Hawkins presents a challenge on both sides of the floor that Moorhead's just not ready for. They don't have the pieces to defend him, or I mean, Terrence Shannon obviously is a matchup nightmare too.
I actually, when I look at the Moorhead, I genuinely agreed with you. Then I look at the KenPom page for them, and we're seeing they play at a really slow pace, 356th in the country. At least that's how long they hold the ball offensively. Total pace is 335th. So they slow you down, and they shoot a ton of threes, like 25th in the country in 3-point attempt rate, 37th in 3-point. Like how many percent of their makes come from 3? And Illinois doesn't defend the 3 all that well. This would be actually, I didn't think this originally, but I've definitely been on a couple other shows. Shout out, even though it's Peyton from the ECB account telling me I'm an idiot and that Chris is significantly better than me. So say what fuck you, Chris.
Funnier, better looking talks better. Very true. Very true. Thank you.
Less annoying. You can take that one too, for sure. Better name though. Come on. DeRosa. It's Mr. DeRosa. But I will be betting Moorhead State to cover this game. It would stun me if they win this game. Illinois is not going to give up a ton of threes like that. And they're just not as athletic as Illinois. Illinois is going to score almost every time down. But I don't know. Maybe Moorhead can keep this game kind of close. But yeah, I think Illinois survives a scare. But this is one I didn't think I was watching before. I'm going to watch for the upset pick. I'm looking a little bit as I accidentally unshared my screen. So we're just going to have Illinois move on. The Mighty Mormons against Illinois. Do you think the Mighty Mormons have a chance?
No, I don't. Honestly, if Illinois wasn't in UConn's bracket, which, spoiler alert, I guess, but if they weren't with UConn, I would have Illinois going to the Final Four. I'm a big fan of the way this team is playing right now. They won the Big Ten tournament for a reason. They played really well ever since Terrence Shannon got back from his absence, we'll say. Their only loss since, later February was to Purdue. They're playing great. I think this team has all of the makings of a Final Four type of team.
So I will actually, I'm going to pitch the case for the Mighty Mormons. I will not be picking them. I might actually pick them in my bracket. I don't know. I'll talk myself into it during the week probably because it's just kind of how I am. I'm due to pick BYU to go too far.
Not going to win it.
BYU is at a significant athleticism disadvantage. I think you'd be a fool to even remotely try to deny that. But one thing, as I was looking at this game that I found very interesting, is that while what Illinois' defense does really well is they run you off the 3-point line and they do not let you move the ball. Illinois' opponents take the 7th least threes of anyone, and they have the 25th least assists of anyone in the country. Those are two things they do really well. They make you beat them on isolate twos, and they make you take tough twos. BYU is excellent at moving the ball and getting good looks from 3. So that's going to be a real give and take game on that side. If BYU can kind of control the pace and tempo of this game, I think they could cause problems. You're going to need Jackson Robinson probably to guard TJ Shannon. I think he's the only guy that is even remotely athletic enough to contain that matchup. And you're going to need a bad Coleman Hawkins game because those happen. You get some bad Coleman Hawkins games, and that is possible. With that said, yeah, I tend to lean Illinois for the time being. And since we have a rule of when in doubt, we're going to pick the better seed, it's Illinois. So we got that there. I think this game's interesting. I actually want to hear your thoughts on Washington State Drake because I have no confidence in this game whatsoever.
Yeah, it's Miles Rice for Washington State versus Tucker DeVries of Drake, just two absolute studs going at it. And when that's the case, where I'm pretty confident that it's going to be just two guys going pound for pound almost, because I don't think the role players are all that great on either side. And I'll take the better player, and that's Tucker DeVries. He's fantastic. He was the best player in the Missouri Valley Conference. Can shoot it from anywhere on the floor, a great shot maker, pretty underrated defender as well. And then down low, Darnell Brody for Drake. I think he matches up really well with Clough and Yakimovsky, both guys down low for Wazoo. I don't know. I think Drake's just the better team, and also I think they will feel a little bit smited that their conference only got one team. They have a little chip on the shoulder. Give me Drake. Give me the Bulldogs.
Yeah, we'll move on, Drake. I'll agree with Chris on this one. 7-10's not really an upset, but I guess some people can pretend it is. I think these games are normally 50-50. Yeah, look, they're the Mighty Mormons. Come on, they're the Mighty Mormons. How can I not talk about them? My Mighty Mormons, my King Ali Khalifa. He's my king. But yeah, we'll move on, Drake. I think this game's actually very 50-50. I think it's close to a toss-up. I think the best unit on the floor is Washington State's defense. They just make you take tough shots, and they're so good just together. This is the most you can possibly get out of this Washington State group. Kyle Smith is a wizard, but Drake's really good offensively. So I think the battle there is going to be really, really interesting. And then on the other end, it's kind of like weakness versus weakness. Washington State looks to pound the ball inside and beat you there. I think that's fairly interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how Miles Rice takes a lot of decent little jumpers, very good ball mover. But Isaac Jones is probably the most dominant offensive player on Washington State. He's a 6'9" big that transferred in from Idaho, and he's literally just an interior player. He doesn't step out and hit a jumper at all. He's literally just going to look to bang on the inside. And I think that's an interesting matchup. I think someone like Darnell Brody, as Chris mentioned, can take it. And I think the guards at Drake will be able to make plays. They'll be able to find shots from 3 that they can knock down. And yeah, I don't know if they have a real matchup for Tucker DeVries. At 6'7", he has a problem. I'm assuming it'll be a Jalen Wells on him, but I think this game's very interesting. For the sake of we're going to need to agree on upset picks, I guess we'll pick Drake. I'm assuming we have Iowa State over TJ Otzelberger's former team.
We do. Okay, don't get me wrong at everyone, but Jesus Christ, the Summit League winner who thrashed the other good teams in the conference down the stretch is a 15. That's a little bit scary. I wasn't sure about the Jack Bunnies until somewhat recently, and then down the stretch, they just piss-pounded everybody. They killed St. Thomas. They killed both North Dakota and North Dakota State. Those were the 3 best teams in the league outside of them. They haven't lost since mid-February. They're rolling on all cylinders. That spread's too high. It was like mid-teens. No, I think South Dakota State kind of keeps it within range, but Iowa State will win.
Interesting. Well, I like a good dog pick. I respect it. So we'll move on Iowa State. This matchup is very interesting. You mentioned that these teams are very close to each other on the other show we did. I'll let you talk more about that. And who you think could win this one? Because I think we could be looking at an upset darling here.
Oh boy. It is kind of interesting. So Iowa State, obviously in Ames, Drake in Des Moines. This game is in Omaha, Nebraska, which is just right across the Missouri River. There should be a ton of fans there and engaged fans of those teams, not just random people from Omaha. This could be like the second round matchup that has just the best energy in the building, which would be fun. In that case, I think I kind of like Iowa State. They didn't lose at home for a reason. Their fans are really rowdy, and it's not just the actual arena, like the fan atmosphere down there, and they love basketball in Ames. So that definitely helps Iowa State, and I think they're just better than Drake, big brother, little brother type of thing. So yeah, where would you go?
I think both of these teams actually can beat Iowa State. Iowa State because the typical formula you don't really want for the best teams in the country are those who play the low possession, low scoring games. Those are the games that typically have the highest variance. And if a guy like Tucker DeVries is going off on any given day, look, the man hits the more contested twos than I've seen for a lot of people. He just rises up and hits these really tough shots. And I think he can do that against a team like Iowa State. I think, and for Washington State, I think they can find a way to slow the pace down. I think these are two teams that actually have decent little giant killer formulas. And then you look at it Iowa State's not particularly dominant inside, so there's not a positional advantage there that just these low major teams just don't have. Yeah. And Iowa State's not a great shooting team. They're a fine shooting team, but they're nothing special there. They move the ball well, and Taman Lipsey is a really good player. So is Kashawn Gilbert. Milan Momcilovic has hit some really tough shots, but we've also seen Iowa State early in the season, lose to Virginia Tech and Texas A&M. Virginia Tech did not make the tournament, and A&M is what? In an 8-9 game somewhere?
Mm-hmm.
They're vulnerable, and the Mighty Mormons beat the piss out of them, and then Iowa State lost at Kansas State and lost fairly convincingly to end the season. They didn't look great in that game. So I actually think this team is one I'm looking to fade. If I want a double-digit seed to make the Sweet 16, Drake is one I'm really targeting, in all honesty. You just have a star player, and I got guys around him who can hit shots, and Iowa State doesn't play a style that I think really makes Drake, worried. So this is one I would look at, but for the sake of our bracket and the rule we've set, take Iowa State. And yeah, good point from whoever's manning the ECB account. I'm assuming it's Peyton. Slated is Iowa State because you don't beat Houston like Iowa State beat Houston. Iowa State's match up really well with Houston all year. They almost won the game in Houston. Then looks very good in the other two. So looking there, but for the sake of our rule, it's Iowa State. We have a very chalk finale over here. Oh yeah, we didn't pick a game, San Diego State or Auburn. So
we can make that one quick. We talked about both teams a fair amount. If this was the matchup, once again, I have Yale, but if this was a matchup, I would take Auburn.
All right, good. I agree.
Cool.
Moving on. Do we want to go straight down or across?
Let's go down. Let's see what we got. Next region, the West.
All right. We'll start. I mean, look, this is the chance I'm going to deliver this take, so I get to right now. This is my one shining moment. It's all on the line, and I am frozen in time. Howard's going to beat Wagner. I bet Howard at -3.
You're such an idiot. You were setting it up for the 16 one-ups. God damn you. Okay.
No, Howard will not beat North Carolina, but I have bet Howard to beat Wagner. I think they will. Wagner only had eight guys out there. It's only -3. Howard is the two most talented players on the court. Seth Towns and Marcus Dockery. I'm taking Howard in this game. I'm taking Howard fairly confidently. It is the first game to open up March, so this will kind of determine how my March goes. And I'm a sucker for Howard. They follow me on Twitter. It's Bryce Harris. Dockery, but Bryce Harris is incredible also. I think this game sets up well for Howard. I think they're the more talented team. I think they're a very well-coached team. Shout out to Donald Copeland making the tournament with 7 guys at Wagner. Doesn't matter. Kenny Blakeney's an excellent coach. He's done a great job there. I really like Howard in that spot. So our 16 seed, it will be UNC versus Howard. And we're taking UNC, I assume.
Yes. I'll let you take the next one too first. Mississippi State and Michigan State, because I want to shred you if you pick the wrong one here.
Okay, I like that you have a feel in this game because I have absolutely no feel for this game whatsoever. I pulled up the KenPom page just now on another browser. KenPom has it a 1-point game. I think Tolu causes matchup problems, and Josh Hubbard is a sniper on the outside at the same time. Am I going to pick against Tyson Walker and AJ Hogarth in the tournament? I don't know. I have very little confidence in this one. I think Tolu is a significant matchup advantage over whoever Michigan State runs inside, whether it's Xavier Booker, who they don't like to play, Carson Cooper, and Mady Sissoko. Who is it? I don't know. Tolu's better than all of them. I know that for a fact. So we're going to blindly go with whoever Chris picks. I'm just stalling for time. Mississippi State.
Okay, good. You chose wisely, young Jedi. Michigan State. Guess how many road wins they have on the year? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
2.
3. They have 3 road wins the entire year, and they are at Maryland, a non-tournament team, at Penn State, a non-tournament team, and guess what? At Michigan, an absolutely horrific team. Guess what? This game isn't being played at the Breslin Center, so no. They haven't done anything to prove to me that they can beat anyone of any sort of competitive value away from home. So give me Mississippi State, who just thrashed Tennessee. They're looking good right now.
And they are looking good right now, but let's take a note from our beautiful chatters out here. Good guards on Sparty, 37% from 3. I mean, come on, that's pretty hard to beat. 36% from 3. But yeah, look, Chris really likes Mississippi State, so sounds like we're taking Mississippi State.
We ride. Next one. What do we got? Is this the St. Mary's Grand Canyon? Oh,
we can go. Do we? Yeah, you know what? We'll do this one right now. You know what? Chris is very excited for.
Yeah, sorry. I am excited.
Yeah, we'll go back to the second round in a bit. St. Mary's Grand Canyon. I'm going to lead this off. I'm going to kick it to you. I'm not going to make a pick first, but how often do we see a 12 seed that is vastly more athletic than a 5 seed? How often do we see that?
Not often.
Not often at all. But do you think St. Mary's can slow down this game and just kind of dice them, or is this a Tyatt Grant Foster masterclass?
It's Ty Grant Foster, by the way. If you haven't seen him, if you're tuning into this and for some reason you found these two nerds without watching mid-major basketball, A, good for you. B, a fantastic story. He went to Kansas initially and then transferred to DePaul, where he had some heart issues, I believe. Is that correct? Had to take off a lot of time for health reasons back on the floor, and he's playing like a quasi All-American type of year. He's been fantastic. Grand Canyon is going to win this game, and there's 2 reasons for that. One, St. Mary's, I'm starting to just say the West Coast Conference isn't good. Actually, I've said that the entire year, but if you look at the top 4 in the West Coast Conference, you got Gonzaga, St. Mary's, San Francisco, and Santa Clara. They were all horrific in the non-conference, okay? And then they beat up on each other, or at least St. Mary's and Gonzaga beat up on the other 2 in league play. And for some reason, that's valued a decent amount or enough to get 2 5 seeds out of that conference. No, they were bad in the non-con. Gonzaga beat 1 tournament team in the non-con, which was Kentucky. And St. Mary's beat 1 tournament team in the non-con, which is New Mexico. And they both had like 4 or 5 losses, actually. St. Mary's has 6 losses in the non-con.
And when New Mexico played that game, they were without 1 of their 3 studs. I believe it was House. I don't think House played in that game.
Jalen House was a late scratch in that one. I know that because I bet on New Mexico, and I was very.
Oh, I did too. Oh my god.
Oh, look at us. Cute. The other thing, Keaton Blackshear is playing a lot more. He was injured at the beginning of the year for Grand Canyon. He matters a ton to that team. He was a really good player for them last year. He's rounding into form, playing 20 plus minutes a game of late. He's just another piece for them. And then they have, TGF and Loke Wur, who also was an Oregon guy initially. They have high major talent and a better team.
Yeah, Grand Canyon is, incredibly talented. Chris ran down the roster, did it better than I could have. Ty Grant Foster, mentioned like Loke Wur, Colin Moore, Blackshear, stud, Ray Harrison, stud. This team has been really good all season long. They've been a mid-major to keep your eye on. And look, we look at some of their losses from beginning of the season. Like when one of the time, it's like, all right, we took them off the top 25 or like even out of like consideration there because South Carolina beat them. That team's a 6 seed now.
Doesn't look too bad. Yeah,
that doesn't look bad at all. And they lost 3 games in conference, all on the road. It was at Seattle, who's top 120 in KenPom. and then 2 back-to-back at Tarleton State and at Abilene Christian. The Abilene Christian game came on 2 days' notice on the road. That's pretty tough to make that trip, all things considered. So
It is. And that conference, by the WAC, like
not bad.
the WAC is a conference full of really good coaches, in my opinion. I mean, maybe not the most talented number of teams, but very, very good coaches. You're just not going to go undefeated there. You're not.
Yeah. And the one thing that I think makes this game really interesting is St. Mary's defends really well inside the 2, and they take teams off the glass. Grand Canyon looks to get inside to draw a ton of fouls, which I think will be key in this one, particularly if you can get Mitchell Saxon in foul trouble with how Grand Canyon attacks inside. Hell, if you can get anyone on the St. Mary's team in foul trouble, they're not a deep team at all. And I think that will cause significant problems for Randy Bennett, who I think has done an excellent job at St. Mary's. This team rebounds really well, but Grand Canyon has size that some of the other WCC teams that they're able to beat up on don't. And I believe Josh Jefferson has come back towards the end of the season. Am I correct on that? I am incorrect on that. Josh Jefferson's out. For the season. Yeah.
Correct.
He is their most athletic player. He is the guy they would have put on Ty and Grant Foster. He's not playing. So, yeah, I'm actually with Chris. We are going to take Grand Canyon to win this game. It's in the bracket. And, yeah, as shout out to Pistol Pete in the comments. GC is going to get out to elite. St. Mary's can't really play from behind because they're not a great shooting team. They can hit shots, but Mahaney's really better inside the arc. Marcialona's really better inside the arc. And I think Grand Canyon can kind of suffocate them there. So we're going to take Grand Canyon. Shout out Bryce Drew. You're getting a tournament win there. Alabama, Charleston.
Yeah, you go ahead and take this one first. I've been taking the mic too much.
Let's do this. I think this game will be all offense all the time. I think this game could score 200 points, to be frankly. I do not think either team can stop each other. But when it comes down to it, I'm going to take the Heiminger guards. Mark, who's the best player on the floor? It's Mark Sears. Who's the second best player on the floor? It's on Alabama, too. We can just go down the list of 3 best players are on Alabama. I think this game sets up well for Alabama. I think this will be really high possessions. I don't think there'll be a ton of variance. You're just going to need a team who's going to really try to pick up the pace. And Alabama, that's just what Alabama wants to do. It's not a contrast in styles. Charleston's going to try to out Alabama, and I don't think they're going to be able to do it. Frankly, I think Alabama, Ken Palm has this as a double-digit win for Alabama. I agree. I think Alabama kind of beats the piss out of them. Alabama shoots really well from 3. They shoot a ton of 3s, but they're just faster, bigger, stronger. Mark Sears, Aaron Estrada. Grant Nelson is a significant matchup problem at this level. If you're going to draw Brzovic outside the paint, he's not quick enough to guard any of these guys in space, and it's going to open up driving lanes. No rim protection. I think Alabama rolls here, honestly.
Yeah, me too. I have always been this year a seller of Grant Nelson. I've said that at every single turn that I just don't think Grant Nelson is as good as people say. Unfortunately, that is more when they play really athletic teams, and Charleston and Brzovic just don't really bring that to the table. Good team, great season. Pat Kelsey, you rock. You're my favorite coach in the history of the world. You're going to lose this game. That's just how it's going to go down.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. It would be really fun to see Charleston win this game, though. Like, it would be really fun. And I think the game's going to be fun regardless. Hopefully it's close late. Shout out comment section. Charleston doesn't turn over the ball like Bama does. Fair. It's a little bit different, but I also think it's different considering level of competition. Like, if they were going against the same schedule that Alabama did, I feel like they probably turn the ball over close enough amount. Yeah, so we will be taking Alabama here. We'll do the second round matchups later because we didn't do it in the first one. We're totally not going off the cuff here. Here is a game that I feel very strongly about. Should I go first, or do you want to go first?
No, you're gonna continue to be a PJ Hall apologist. Is that right?
No. Oh God, no.
Okay.
My biggest bet of the tournament so far. Listen, they're an 11 seed. It's New Mexico. New Mexico's an 11 seed. They are favored in this game by 1.5 points. They should be favored by a lot more than that. New Mexico is going to win this game outright. New Mexico, I'm in a survivor pool where you get points based on like the seeds of who wins. I'm taking New Mexico in that. I think New Mexico wins this game. I'm very confident in that. Straight up, Joe Girard and Chase Hunter are good guards. They are good guards. Joe Girard is going to have to guard one of Donovan Dent, Jamal Mashburn, or Jalen House for 40 minutes. Do you want to know how that's going to work? I'll tell you right now, it's just not going to. There is no chance it works. Joe Girard cannot stay in front of those guys. They're going to be getting into the lane all game long. New Mexico is on a run right now. This team is really, really good. Just straight up, this is a set up spot for New Mexico. I'm very confident New Mexico wins this game. We'll get to that one later. I have New Mexico. I think New Mexico absolutely rolls in this spot. They also have the bigs to contain PJ Hall. They'll have 3 or 4 bodies ready for him. Is Hall going to get his? Absolutely. But if you throw JT Toppin, Mustafa Amsi, who can step out and hit a shot, or Nelly Jr. Joseph on him, that's going to cause problems. And Clemson, they play Scheifelen a lot. Scheifelen, like, he's a very good offensive rebounder. Doesn't really do much else. New Mexico can crash the glass. They have size up the front court. They have athletes in the front court. JT Toppin's one of the best rebounders in the country. I think that just nullifies another advantage that that Clemson has, excuse me. New Mexico's going to win this game. They're the better team. They're on a better run of form. I have New Mexico. I think New Mexico rolls in this spot. I think they win by more than double digits.
Wow. Just because of the style of play Clemson plays, I think it's closer than that. But I do agree with you. You hit on the main thing, which everyone wants to focus on the trio of guards. And if you haven't watched them, Dent, Mashburn House, it's a ton of fun. Would recommend. It's fun for the whole family. But JT Toppin is the kind of unsung hero, just kind of a freak athlete down low. And to have someone in the front court like that really does minimize a lot of the potential problems because of Nelly Jr. Joseph just not being, I don't know, an awesome center. What do we got here?
What's they will run zone like Boeheim. Yeah, Boeheim. Oh,
Jesus Christ.
We don't need to talk about Syracuse. So I don't want to get angry. They're not.
We don't need to talk about Michael's screensaver. Or not screensaver, phone lock screen. There we go. But yeah, New Mexico wins. I also have them. I have New Mexico advancing more than one game in the tournament. Let's just say that.
Interesting. I actually have a very hot take on this one also. My second biggest bet of the tournament. I think Baylor beats the piss out of Colgate.
Oh, okay. All right.
I do not think this game's competitive. Correct. I got the line at like 12.5. It is not 12.5 anymore. I could cash out for, I believe it was like a very slight profit, like 0.01%. So good for me. I think Baylor absolutely rolls in the spot. I think it's a 20-point win for Baylor. Baylor's the better guards. Colgate's not built to beat other teams. They're just not. They're built to beat up on the Patriot, and that's it. Baylor's more athletic. This Colgate team wants to slow down and defend. Good luck. You're guarding Ray J. Dennis. You're guarding Jacoby Walter. You're guarding multiple NBA players. Langston Love and them on the wing. I think Baylor absolutely smokes Colgate here.
Yeah, Tucker Richardson ain't walking through that door for Colgate. They don't got a prayer. Baylor rocks by 20.
Yep. We'll go to you for this next game. I think this is another very interesting matchup. Dayton, Nevada.
Yeah. I went into this tournament thinking I want to fade all of the Mountain West teams. And then I already said I picked New Mexico multiple games, and then here I am picking Nevada to win too. Gerard Lucas and the rest of Nevada's backcourt, I think, is just a little bit too good. Deron Holmes is awesome for Dayton, but that's the team. That's it. Without Smith, like, it's Deron Holmes and no one else. And we've kind of seen them pay the price for that in recent games. Deron Holmes got in foul trouble twice in the last month and a half, which I know is nothing. But both of those games they lost just because without him on the floor, they're anemic offensively. And so that it was as simple as that. Give me Nevada.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have Nevada in this game as well. I think they have multiple matchups for someone like Deron Holmes. I think that is fairly significant because, Dayton doesn't really present many problems for teams other than Deron Holmes, who could be playing in the NBA next year, if we're being honest. They're going to give him the ball a ton, but KJ Himes can guard him, and I was fairly impressed with Nick Davidson the few times I've watched Nevada. He rebounds really well. I mean, he had a couple tip dunks. Let's be real. I can be honest with you. He's a white guy. I didn't expect him to have that in his bag. He's fairly athletic. I just think they create some problems here. I think they have the guys for Holmes, and I think some of the bigger wings that Nevada has, like a Jared Lucas, 6'4", he runs point quite a bit for them. Kenan Blackshear, Trey Coleman. These guys are going to cause a ton of problems for Dayton. I just think they have multiple matchups they can throw at people. I just think Nevada's kind of the better team. I think they match up really well here, especially because Dayton's an excellent three-point shooting team. I think that's the way Dayton wins it, but Nevada can defend the three fairly well, 38th in the country. Dayton shoots almost over 40% from three, but they don't shoot they shoot a ton of them, but I think Nevada's going to be able to run them off the line. And one thing that is fairly significant to me, since we're without Malachi Smith, he was out for the season for Nevada. They are also, Javon Bennett played in the last game, but he was hurt. He missed the last 2 games of the regular season, and he was hurt, and he's not 100%. They need him bad, and they're really relying on a sophomore from Merrimack who played at Merrimack last year. Like, he's been really good for them. Don't get me wrong. He's impressed me in the games he's played, but I don't know. I like Nevada in the spot. I think they match up fairly well.
The one note I would have is that if you're a fan that, hey, coaching wins in March, Steve Alford ain't the pick there. Steve Alford in March has been horrific against the spread. Anthony Grant at Dayton is a fantastic coach for my money's worth. So if you like the coaching edge, go with Dayton. But personally, I am rolling Wolfpack. Tommy Godin says Dayton is the fresh pizza and deli slice of tournament teams. That's good. If anyone lives in Queens,
no.
anyone wants a good slice.
Muting his mic. We're moving on. Arizona's beating Long Beach. That's just happening. We'll go up to the top of the bracket. I'll let him speak. North Carolina, Mississippi State. You're back. Who you got?
I didn't know you were a fan of censorship. Noted.
Yeah.
Noted.
When it's terrible takes like that, someone has to do it.
We'll fade the whatever your side on. All right. North Carolina and Mississippi State. I took North Carolina here. This was the exact game I had. I had Mississippi State the first round as well. North Carolina is just better. I don't know. Chris Jan's great job. Tolu Smith is fantastic, but Baycott, RJ Davis, too much.
Queens, indeed.
Queens is the best, especially if you want a nice slice of pizza. Go to Fresh Pizza and Deli.
No. Chris doesn't know a goddamn thing about pizza. He's from the fucking Midwest. Please, he's talking to Italian. As if, yeah, we're going to let him talk about pizza. Come off of it. Yeah, I went with this pick on that game. Grand Canyon, Alabama. I'll let him speak again, because if there's anyone who knows mid-major ball, it's Chris Thedinga. Chris, who you got in this one?
I took GCU, believe it or not.
All right, let's do it.
I had him go Sweet 16 for all of the exact same reasons we said against St. Mary's. I won't rehash all of them, but really to me, the key is Jovan Blackshear being healthier. So it's not just TGF and Harrison in the backcourt. That's a third piece that's really reliable.
Yeah, and I think Grand Canyon has the athletes to control Alabama and force turnovers. That's something Grand Canyon does fairly well. And this isn't a normal 12 seed. This is a 12 seed with legit high major talent. Like, as Chris said earlier, and maybe we kind of glossed over a bit, Tyon Grant Foster was at Kansas.
They're pretty good.
Kansas, yeah. That matters a lot. That dude is at Kansas, and now he's at Grand Canyon. This team is legit high major talent. They get to the free throw line. They're going to cause problems, and they have the athletes to play at the pace Alabama wants, and they can slow it down a bit. They're not going to give Alabama easy shots, and Bryce Cruz can coach his ass off, man.
Yeah.
Good coach, talented roster. It's hard to prepare for what Alabama does on really short notice, but they're good. They're good. Yeah, the pizza wasn't even cooked that day. Like, the dude just wanted to get us out of there. Like, we don't need to talk about that shit anymore. We'll go down to the bottom region of this one. We have North Carolina playing Grand Canyon. New Mexico at Baylor. You said you have the Lobos winning multiple games in the tournament. Pitch your case, buddy.
I do. Baylor, not all that impressive to me of late. They got schooled by Iowa State. They got rinsed pretty hard by Texas Tech. And then Houston and BYU also beat them here in late February. Also, good guard play tends to be their downfall. All of those teams have really good guards. And one thing, if nothing else, New Mexico has great guards. And so I'll roll with New Mexico. They have a ton of firepower, and what should be, if this game comes to fruition, it's going to be a bunch of points. I just think they're, more capable offensively.
Yeah, so it was interesting. I remember when we were talking about New Mexico in the beginning of the year, it was like, yeah, this team is all offense. They don't play any defense was my main take. When you look at their KenPom page, you see that I'm a giant fucking idiot. New Mexico was 23rd in the country in defense, 41st offensively. They play at a blazing fast pace, which makes sense because all the guards they have and all their bigs are really athletic. Like, Nelly Jr. Joseph gets up and down the floor really well. JT Toppin, as Chris mentioned earlier, really, really athletic. They're able to get up and down the pace, and I don't think Yves Massey, where normally he's going to be a matchup problem for other teams. Like, if they play Kansas, or if they play Clemson, let's say Clemson beats New Mexico, which we both don't have, but let's say it happens. Yves Massey is the perfect guy to put on PJ Hall. The perfect guy. He's going to be able to stop him, but I don't think he creates the same problems here. And guards versus guards, you got really good guards. You have really good guards at New Mexico, man. Ray J. Dennis is a hoopa. Don't get it twisted. Jaden Nunn, Langston Love, those guys can play, but I think you kind of got to take the trio of Mashburn, Dent, and House which is really crazy to say, but I think you have to. That's really a hot take. So, yeah, I was actually very 50-50 on this game coming into it. Chris was basically looked and said, look, if you have balls, you're going to pick New Mexico. I have balls, so I'm going to pick New Mexico. Nevada, Arizona. I'm very confident Arizona wins this game. I really like Arizona. I will have Arizona going fairly far. Chris, you agree with me? I'm assuming, correct?
I do. Yep. Nevada, one win seems kind of like the ceiling here.
Yep. All right, we'll go. Do we want to go south or Midwest to go down? Then we can go Sweet 16 shit later.
Let's go. Let's go south. Let's stay.
South.
Yeah.
All right. We have Longwood winning round 1. Good for us.
Yep.
Nebraska takes on Texas A&M.
It's to me, I just went, this is a very mediocre SEC team versus a very, very mediocre Big Ten team. I think Texas A&M has the higher ceiling. I think they're overall just a more talented bunch. Sometimes end of year tournaments like this, you get sort of a regression to the mean of what you were supposed to be. And Texas A&M, a lot of people had as a top 15 type of team in the preseason. And sometimes you just need a kind of a reset. We see that in a lot of conference tournaments at the mid-major level, right? As end of year comes and it's like, well, now we're back to kind of like the beginning of the year in a sense. And the better teams end up prevailing, even if they weren't as good as we had initially thought throughout the year. I think we see that here. Texas A&M, more talented. Give me the win there.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with one of our commenters, Tommy Godin. Kidding. Hi, Tommy. Love you, buddy. I actually like Nebraska in this game. Ken Palm has this as a Nebraska win, but when you look down the Texas A&M's offense page, you see that they rank 31st in the country offensively. It is because they do not turn the ball over. They're an excellent offensive rebounding team. Nebraska's a bad defensive rebounding team, so I think that's an advantage in A&M's favor. But Texas A&M is 353rd in the country in three-point shooting percentage, 301st in two-point shooting percentage. This is a bad offense. And Buzz Williams is doing the thing right now where he just doesn't really want to be there. Wade Taylor's a star. I do not know if Nebraska has a ton of matchups for him, but I lean Nebraska in this game. I think Bryce Williams causes real problems. I think they just have enough guys who, if they can really crash the glass, they can get there. And I think Tomonaga's a laser, man. I just feel like he's going to make plays. And I feel like when we go up and down this Nebraska roster, it's just kind of better than the Texas A&M roster. Taylor and Radford are incredible, but after behind that, Henry Coleman's fine. I just think Nebraska up and down is the better roster. So I actually lean Nebraska here. I'm not particularly confident in it. Are you particularly confident in this game?
Yeah, but I'm always confident. That's my whole thing. I'm always right. We can go to Nebraska. It's the higher seed. It's only fair.
Fair. Go Nebraska.
What do you got here? JMU, Wisconsin.
Okay, I'll lead this off. There is a team that I have bet in this little region. We have Wisconsin, JMU. Wisconsin is a team that played really well to end significantly end their season. They beat Purdue. That was a huge win. It came because Matt Painter just decided not to guard the 2 when they were up 2 with 2 seconds left. That was a big brain decision right there. Big Brian decision.
7'5" guy in the paint, and you don't put him in the paint. It's unbelievable. All right,
that was certainly a decision. One of the decisions of all time. But before that, Wisconsin wasn't playing great ball, like really at all. Like coming into the tournament, they had lost at Purdue, but that's Purdue, that's fine. Lost home to Illinois, that's fine. At Indiana, they lost. At Iowa, they lost. They barely beat Maryland at home. They beat Ohio State at home. Then before that, at Rutgers, they lost by 20. At Michigan, they lost by 4. Michigan is terrible. At Nebraska, they lost by 8, which really started this stretch. And they lost to Purdue again. They had, to end in February, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losses. They were 2-6 in February, 2-1 in March before the Big Ten tournament, where they were able to absolutely smoke Maryland, beat Northwestern, beat Purdue, and then lose to Illinois in the championship game. Yeah, versus a James Madison team. Ken Palm has this a 5-point Wisconsin win. James Madison's going to win this game. I've bet James Madison plus 190. I do not know what the line is right now. James Madison is going to win this game. James Madison, I think, has multiple matchups that are going to cause problems for Wisconsin. They are just so long. They're talented. They are deep. Mid-major teams are not usually this deep. When you look at this roster, Terrence Edwards might honestly be the best player on the floor. TJ Bickerstaff's going to get buckets. James Madison can space the floor. They have 5 guys that can beat you on the floor at any given time. Wisconsin was not playing good ball in the season, and James Madison's the second best team in the country at defending the 3. Also, Wisconsin, 345th in the country in three-point percentage defense. James Madison can shoot the ball. They have 5 guys that can shoot the ball. This is going to be James Madison. I think James Madison wins this game. And we've seen James Madison against teams with high major athleticism. You want to know what they did to them? They went day 1 of the season. They went to Michigan State, a team that I had second in the country. Was that a bad take? You're goddamn right it was, but it was my take. And you know what they did? They went out there and they beat Wisconsin. They beat Michigan State. You know what they're going to do in this game? They're going to go out there. Everyone forgot about James Madison after they lost 3 games in conference play. Everyone forgot about them. This team has 3 losses on the season. They're the better team than Wisconsin. They're winning this game.
No. And also, we haven't seen them against great athleticism because we haven't seen it since November 10th or whenever that game was. They got punked by Appalachian State, who is the only other
They beat Auburn.
I'm just saying they're the only other really athletic team in that conference, and they got punked twice, and it would have been a third time if App State made it to the conference championship game. They're not athletic enough. I don't know how they're not big enough either. TJ Bickerstaff, you're not guarding Stephen Crowell.
Dude, you don't really need to guard Stephen Crowell.
You're not guarding Tyler Wall down low. Both of those guys would have a field day. AJ Storr is the best player on the floor. The bigs are too much. No shot, Michael. Get out of here. James Madison, get out of my tournament. No, Wisconsin wins.
I hate that we have to have that stupid fucking rule of picking the higher seed. You are wrong on this game. I'll bet you.
No.
I'll bet you personally on this game too.
Deal. I'll be your bookie for this game. Absolutely.
Done. We'll work on that one. We'll middle it. We'll give ourselves odds. We got this. That's good. Duke Vermont. I'll let you go this one while I sit here and rage.
Duke's really good. I don't really necessarily care all that much how they looked against Carolina the couple times they played them. Carolina's also fantastic, and I don't really think that matchup bodes very well for them just on a personnel side of things. Vermont, this is just it's a really bad matchup for the Catamounts, I think. Duke's too physical, too fast, too strong. This is just going to be one of those matchups where you blink and Duke's up 15 at the beginning. I don't know what the ending score will be, but Duke will win somewhere between like 12 and 25.
Yeah, Duke's winning this game. Duke's just better. Duke is more talented. I do not think Vermont is really built to beat other actual high major teams. They do not have a matchup for Filipowski. Kane's going to go off. The injury to Caleb Foster, I think, hurts Duke long term. I don't think it hurts him in this game. Last year, Duke was in a pretty similar spot, playing a team that people liked. They beat Oral Roberts by about 1,000. They're going to beat Vermont by about 1,000. I think they win. I think they cover. I believe I've already placed a bet on Duke to cover this game.
All right, sell me on this next one because this is my 50-50 coin flip.
Interesting. I think when we're talking about this NC State team, I think they just had a really good run, honestly. Was not particularly sold on this team before they went on their huge run in the tournament, in the ACC tournament. So full credit to them. They're a great team, but Texas Tech, I just think is really good. Grant McCasland, first of all, it's Grant McCasland versus Kevin Keats on a neutral. Who's the better coach?
Not close.
Yeah, it's not close. It's Grant McCasland. Grant McCasland's an excellent coach. And what is different from this Texas Tech team to other Grant McCasland teams is they're really good offensively. 38th in the country in three-point shooting percentage. NC State doesn't defend the three very well. When we look at the guards, the best player on the floor is Pop Isaacs. Pop Isaacs and Joe Toussaint versus DJ Horn and Casey Morsell. Casey Morsell is really good, to his credit. Those two are two really good players, but Pop Isaacs and Joe Toussaint are the better players. And then you go down the roster, James McMillan, Laser, Darian Williams, Swiss Army Knife. They have guys that just do things, and they're better inside. And I've heard a lot of people say, oh, they're going to struggle with DJ Burns. Oh, yeah, they're really going to struggle with DJ Burns. Warren Washington is a good defender. He is not.
Washington's out.
That is a good point that I forgot about. Balls.
That's the only thing, right? Is that without the true post defender, DJ Burns kind of bullies people down low. So that's the only if Washington was in, I wholeheartedly agree. Texas Tech, Sharpie. I don't know.
Point. DJ Burns will only play 15 minutes because they're going to get up and down the floor, and he's just going to be that does happen.
It does happen. It didn't happen against Duke or Carolina in the tournament, though, and both of those teams play faster than Texas Tech.
Duke does not play fast. Duke plays really slow, and they're only good in slow games. North Carolina plays fast. Yeah, you had a good point there. But Duke likes to really slow this bitch down. But yeah, I think this NC State team played out of their minds for 4 games. Full credit to them. They were great in those games. The last time I watched a team go on a miracle run like this, to be fair, there were 2 teams that did this year, but I'm using the personal example because it helps me in this case. We saw Georgetown go on an absolutely incredible run. Emotions were high. They won 4 games in 4 days. NC State won 5 games. And keep in mind, NC State had to win 5 games. You want to know how they had to go that far? Because they weren't very fucking good. They just weren't good. Texas Tech was the better team all season long. But Georgetown did it. They matched up against Colorado. It's a popular upset. And do you want to know what happened in that game?
Smoked.
The game, I was at that game. It was over 2 minutes in. The game was OVAH over 2 minutes in. Texas Tech is the better team. Texas Tech is going to win this game. Texas Tech will limit the offense of NC State, who is, they don't turn the ball over, but they also just play a ton of iso ball, and they don't shoot a ton of threes. They take a lot of long contested mid-range twos that plays right into Texas Tech's hands. Texas Tech's going to hit shots. Texas Tech is the better shooting team. Texas Tech's the better defense. NC State is not very good defensively. They give up threes. They give up free throws. I think this game plays right into Texas Tech's hands. They're going to get a ton of threes. They're going to get open looks, and they're going to knock them down. Give me Texas Tech.
Cool. I'm in.
Sweet. Yippee. Kentucky, Oakland, we don't need to like.
I think we do need to like for a second. Also, Big East Barroom says UConn 2011. I don't remember it, but sure, that makes sense.
They won a lot of games.
Okay.
Yeah. The NC State does not have the star power that UConn did then. They just don't. Yeah. That team had excellent guards. DJ Horn is very good. Casey Morsell, I think, is actually the best player on that team. He is really good. And Jaden Taylor also plays basketball. However, Oakland, you seem to think Oakland can do something here.
Oakland's Christian Medic, my boy. Oakland scares me. Cal overthink the lineup when Oakland goes to the 2-3 zone. Yeah, and that's the point, right? Is Oakland's zone 2 is super unique. There's not like set, and it sounds like an insult, but it's not. There's not a lot of like set principles in it. Jack Golke, which is one of Oakland's guards, had an interview. I think this was like a month ago. I was listening to it, and it was an interview with and they asked about the zone and like what Campy preaches in practice about it. And he was essentially like, yeah, no, we just like defend. We just, we just help and we help out when someone has to go to the other side. That's it. Which like they don't have, it's just a zone, man. There's no set principles. They just go and try to win. And it's hilarious, but it works. And it's a really hard zone to prepare for on 2 or 3 days rest or in preparation. So Cal has a pretty young team here, and going against a tough zone to prep for with a really talented guy like Trey Townsend, who truly is, a pretty solid player, right? Oakland beat Xavier. Oakland was really, really close with Drake, played Illinois hard, played Ohio State hard. This team is good. I would be scared.
State hard, but continue.
Yeah, fair. I think I have Kentucky winning, but I was close to pulling that trigger.
Interesting. So a few things I want to note, just based on how you mentioned that Oakland runs that really weird zone. But Oakland gives up a ton of shots from the three-point line, and Kentucky's the best three-point shooting team in the country.
Yeah.
That's how you beat a zone. Also, Oakland, they make you move the ball. Like, to beat a zone, you have to move the ball really well. You're not going to beat it one-on-one. I think that just kind of makes Kentucky a better team. You don't have to have Rob Dillingham or Reed Shepard trying to beat the zone themselves. They can get in the lane, dish out to some of the other open shooters who are going to knock down shots. And Antonio Reeves is the perfect zone buster. Veteran, can play at that high post if he wants to, can step out if he sees a lane, hit a three. If you give Cal a few days for that, and he just says, Antonio Reeves, you just walk up to him, you look at him, and you say, they're playing a zone. Just fucking bust that thing. Just break it. And he'll do that.
Here's the interesting thing, though, right, is that
interesting.
Against zones, you'd think ball movement breaks it. Guess what team in the whole entire country gives up the least amount of assists? Oakland.
Chris, you're reading that stat backwards. They give up like the most assists.
62.4%. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. I was reading the off. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're right. Okay. Fair enough. You win. Strike one. Damn it.
I got you. However, I also unshared my screen again like an idiot. So I'll put up this comment where the Big East Barroom talking about UConn. I almost stopped my camera. That would have been a tough one. UConn won 5 games in 5 days. So there we go. There's another team that did it. Shout out to NC State for doing it. Very impressive. Probably wasn't in a conference as good as the Big East was in 2011. But they did it. But yeah, we're taking Kentucky here. We didn't pick any second round games. So Florida, we got our first 4 game versus Boise or Colorado.
I think whoever wins that game, and I don't particularly care too much. Without Handelogton, I kind of think they roll Florida. Tyrese Samuel is awesome down low, but then they have to rely on the freshman as a backup. Colorado, all of their points come in the paint. They don't really shoot too much from downtown. Yeah, I kind of lean whoever wins the play-in.
Wow. I actually disagree fairly strongly with this one. I think Florida wins this game, regardless of who it is. I'm going to pick Boise to beat Colorado because I think that I like this Boise team, and they made me look kind of smart at one point in the year. Like, they're not terrible. They're like solid. They're fine. They're better than your Utes. So I guess I won that battle. I didn't really. I don't know. Colorado shoots it really well from 3. Like, they're a very good team. KJ Simpson is a problem. That kid is a stud. And Tristan Da Silva, I actually think Terry Samuel's a decent matchup for him. Then you look down like Eddie Lampkin, Cody Williams when Cody Williams is on, but he's not like a great shooter. And there's just so I think they can beat Colorado. Like, I just think Walter Clayton, Zion Pullen, Will Richard, Riley Kugel, those guards for Florida are going to cause real problems. I don't think Colorado's all that good. The metrics like them, but who the fuck is Colorado beat? They beat Washington. They beat Washington State at home. Okay. They beat Richmond on a neutral. Good for you. We go to the conference play. They what? Beat Oregon. I don't even know if Oregon was at all healthy at that time.
Utah a couple times. Yeah, they don't have the impressive wins.
They haven't fucking beaten anybody. Their best wins might be Utah on a neutral at the end of the season, then Washington State on a neutral at the end of the season. Those are 2 teams that one didn't make the tournament, the other one we picked against in the first round. And then Boise, I don't think Boise's really built to beat a team like Florida. Butler just punked them. To be fair, Omar Stanley hadn't broken out yet. He has been like a key engine. He gets Dagenhart to go to the 4, which makes him a lot better. And Boise moves the ball fairly well. They have guys at all 5 positions who can pass. I say that as their assist stat doesn't back me up, but just spiritually it backs me up. I think Boise defends 3 really well. I think they're going to run Colorado off the line. I think they're going to win that game. But then they got to go up against the guards of Florida. Walter Clayton's going to be the best player on the floor. Zion Pullen's going to be the second best player on the floor. And if it was Boise State, if it's not, Tristan Da Silva causes problems. But again, I think Terry Samuel's a good matchup for him. Alex Condone, you go down there, but that's just, they have 4 really good guards. I think the loss of Hanlogton does really hurt them down the line. I do not think it's down the line yet. I think Florida's going to be able to roll in this matchup.
Sure.
I think Colorado probably has a better chance of beating Florida than Boise.
Agreed.
So if it's Colorado, you know what? I'll just be nice to you. I guess we'll pick this team because
we're going against the principles. Wow, call us Greg Campy. Okay. And then I assume you have Marquette over your guys.
I want to take a second to talk about my guys. Listen. I don't think there's a team in the country that's won me more money this year than Western Kentucky. This team is a fucking wagon. They got screwed at the 15 line. Not really. Like they could have been.
They should have been a 14.
Yeah, they could have been a 14. And what? Just looking out at the bracket as I zoom out. Yeah, you know what? I would have picked him to beat Creighton. I think they match up well with Creighton.
Steve Lutz against his former boss.
Yeah, but this Western Kentucky team plays at the fastest pace in the country. They look to blitz you, and they have high major athletes. Don McHenry, Rodney Howard was at Georgia Tech and Georgia. Dante Allen was at Kentucky for a little bit. Brandon Newman was at Purdue. Christian Lander, former 5-star recruit, was at Indiana for a while. They have athletes. They run like 10 guys deep. And they just fucking run you, dude. They run you. They make you make mistakes. They force a ton of turnovers. They're very good defensively. They're not that good offensively. Let's be real here. But they are very good defensively, and they do not play. You are getting up and down, and you are playing their style. You are going to play the game that Western Kentucky wants you to play. That said, Marquette's kind of built to beat that. Marquette is going to be more than okay running with Western Kentucky and making Western Kentucky take bad shots. I think they got a bad draw. I think Western Kentucky could cover this game. I think 15 is a lot of points. I think it will be one of those games that stays at 12 the entire time. Western Kentucky will make it 7 at one point. Marquette fans will sweat a little bit. Then Marquette will pull away. I think this game's played in the 180s, 190s. I think this game, they get out and they run. But it's Tyler Kolek versus Christian Lander. Yeah, we're going to take Marquette here.
Yeah.
We're taking Houston over Nebraska, right? We don't need
that. Nebraska ball, RIP. I do hope they get their first tournament win ever.
I do too. Yeah. I got that stat wrong earlier. Shout out Trev, who gave us the stat on the ECB show. Shout out Trev. Wisconsin Duke. Please don't tell me you're making me take Wisconsin again.
No. I have the Devils. Too good, too talented. Wisconsin, yeah, they'd be one win seems like the right amount.
We're also going to pick Marquette over Boise or Colorado, right? I guess assuming it's Colorado, I just feel like Marquette's better.
Yeah.
De Silva and Williams would actually be matchup problems for Marquette. They don't have someone who can guard. Well, they can guard De Silva. Oso can guard De Silva. Williams would be a matchup problem, but Williams isn't aggressive. And I have KJ Simpson versus Cam. You put Stevie Mitchell on KJ Simpson, and I just think that kind of takes him out of the game. And then I have Kolek and Jones the other way. So I actually think Marquette matches up really well with Colorado. I think Florida would present real problems for Marquette.
Maybe.
It's guards versus guards, and Walter Clayton, when he is on, is on. Zion Pullen, when he's on, is going to get buckets in that game. You can only put Stevie Mitchell on one of them. The other two are going to go off.
Kolek's a fine defender. I mean,
he's okay.
Tyler Kolek's better than any guard Florida has on their roster, and Cam Jones is better than any wing Florida has on their roster. Marquette wins that game.
Yeah, I think Florida presents more problems for Marquette though, just because they're really good shooting too. Like they're going to make Marquette play a tough game. They're going to make Marquette. They are okay playing the style that Marquette likes to play. I think they can make it tough, but yeah, we're going to pick Marquette in that game. The 3-6, I think, is a tougher one. What do you think?
I mean, I was not sold on Texas Tech even winning one game. If Kentucky gets by Oakland, I think there's enough there. There's just so much talent. This is the most NBA ready roster in the country by a pretty wide margin. And I know Cal has had his ups and downs in the NCAA tournament, but when you have Antonio Reeves and DJ Wagner sitting outside and creating, and then probably, for my money, the best freshman in the country, actually, Reed Shepherd, and Rob Dillingham too. Like, it's just so many weapons. There's 7-8 guys that could just beat you off the bounce, shoot over you. Texas Tech, Grant McCasland, you're a great coach, and your team is way better offensively than they have any right to be. But no, Kentucky wins.
Yeah, I'm with you. Kentucky's just too talented at all 5 positions, and I don't think Texas Tech presents them any real problems. I don't think NC State does either. I think this is Kentucky. Kentucky should have for a 3 seed, I feel like they have the easier road to the Sweet 16.
Yep.
All right. We'll go down. I'll share the screen again. I already put Purdue winning. They're going to beat either Montana State or Grambling. I don't know anything about either of those two teams. I'm going to be real. I came on here like guns blazing for Howard. I got nothing with those two teams. Montana State might win. I don't know.
We spent an unorthodox amount of time on Howard. I will not spend any time talking about this one. Grambling, no shouts to them.
Shout out Howard men's basketball.
Yeah. First ever tournament appearance for Grambling, so good for them. Utah State, TCU. Are you going Mountain West here?
I am not. I think TCU actually matches up really well in this spot. TCU is the team. I remember we were talking about this before, in between one of the Garden games. Who is the 8-9 seed that could create problems for a 1? TCU was my answer. TCU is just so long, so athletic. They're so physical at all 5 positions, really. Jimmy Nelson Jr., good player, really good player at the guards, but I mean, no but about it. He is just really good. One of the best assist rates in the country. He gets downhill. He scores effectively inside. He's quick. He is really athletic. Jameer Nelson, his dad, was not particularly athletic. Jameer Nelson Jr. is a really good athlete. He has some like insane poster dunks. And we go down the roster. Avery Anderson, 6'2". He plays bigger than 6'2". But like Chuck O'Bannon, Xavier Cork, Micah Peavy, Manuel Miller, Jacoby Coles. These are all guys who are between that 6'7" to 6'9" range that they can just throw at you at any time. And one of them has to guard Great Osobor. I think they can throw multiple guys on him that can create problems. Darius Brown might get his. Sure. But TCU too long, TCU too physical, TCU too strong, TCU too athletic. I got TCU in this game. I think TCU matches up really well, actually, with Utah State. And Utah State likes to beat you inside the arc. TCU, like, sure, they do give up some decent looks from 2, but I don't know. I just think TCU's too athletic.
I kind of zagged you here. I went Utah State. I think they're awesome and great. Osibor is, I mean, he has the chance to be kind of a breakout player, I think, in March in general. If they win a game and have I'll tell you what, if they get there, they have an outside chance, in my opinion, to give Purdue problems.
No, they don't.
I think they do. Great Osibor is athletic enough, big enough to, yeah, I think pose a problem. He gets fouled the 9th most out of anyone in the country. Guess what? TCU fouls a shit ton, especially down low. So I think it matches up well for him to put up like 25 or 28 points. And then the guard play, Darius Brown and Ian Martinez are both sharpshooters. They both shoot at 38% from deep, enough to keep defenses honest with Osibor down low. Yeah, I kind of like Utah State. Also TCU, these sort of middling Big 12 teams as a rule, I'm trying to fade. I think that's kind of the way this turn will go. So yeah, I took the Aggies.
Yeah. I will also note TCU lost to Georgetown. So
true, which banishment to anyone who loses to Georgetown.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on down because we're going with you. I'm going to have to look back at that game because I do trust your opinion fairly well. So you had me convinced there. So full credit to you. Gonzaga McNeese.
Oh boy, roll the clip. Do you got it queued up? My McNeese takes from 11 months ago. Yeah,
I do not. I can probably find it if you want me to.
No, this is fantastic though. I love the draw for my boys. Will Wade down on the Bayou. I think they're the better team. He whispers into the microphone. Ryan Nembhard's been playing great for Gonzaga recently, but I mean, you look up and down in the McNeese roster, and I mean, this is a Power 5 roster. It really is. Shahada Wells will be, for my money, the best player on the floor. And then, Shoemate and DJ Richards and CJ Felder, all of these, pieces in the front court / wings. I just think they match up really well with Gonzaga. Anton Watson, it's not like he's more athletic than any of these guys. They can hang with them. And there's a reason why McNeese has lost 3 games all year. And they only lost 1 against C-Law in a really weird game in February where C-Law just shot the basketball. I don't know. I think Will Wade gets it done.
Yeah. Looks like we're picking McNeese. Yeah. I saw a very interesting video on Twitter the other day. Not the other day, it was today. One of Will Wade's assistants sent out a text in their group chat like, all right, my prediction is we're playing Gonzaga and Salt Lake City as they're the 5 seed and we're the 12 seed. So he had already began watching tape of Gonzaga before the draw was announced. And then they got Gonzaga as the 5 seed in Salt Lake City. So they had already been watching tape. So does that really matter? Probably not, but I thought it was very interesting.
Nobody gets the coaching edge like Will Wade. Nobody. No response to that.
No, you're not warranting a response with that. But
come on, I wanted to clip you.
And Gonzaga is a team that we did not like all season. And let's call a spade here. This team is overseeded.
Yeah. They have 1 win over a tournament team outside of their conference.
Yeah. And what? They have 1 guy off the bench who can do anything. Great.
Yeah, they have no depth. I mean, yeah, let's call a spade here. This isn't a very good basketball team. I have no freaking idea how they're a 5 seed. You look at their actual, what they have done throughout the year. They have two impressive wins.
Yeah. They
have 2 impressive wins.
Great.
They have St. Mary's and they have Kentucky. And that's it.
Yeah, and McNeese is one of the rare, I think McNeese and Grand Canyon are the only 2 teams seeded 12 or below that could actually kind of match up with Gonzaga's front court. Look, Gramick is going to get his. That dude is incredible. But when we just look up and down the roster, it's like, all right, Braden Huff, he's fine. Ben Gregg, he's solid when he plays. But you look at that versus Mike Saunders comes off the bench at McNeese, right?
He does. And that's a guy with, Power 6 experience.
He was at Utah. He was at Cincinnati. He's the best bench player in this game.
100%. Oh, yes. Yeah.
McNeese is the 2 best bench players in this game. I mean, it's truly ridiculous how talented this McNeese team is for a Southland team. And they've done a really great job. Shahada Wells is a name that if they win this game, you will know the name Shahada Wells if you do not already. McNeese shoots the ball incredibly well from 3. Gonzaga doesn't defend the 3 really well. And where Gonzaga is really good, they're just going to try to bully teams. McNeese has been there. McNeese has been like teams have tried to bully McNeese, and McNeese's losses outside of conference play. They lost one game in conference to Southeastern Louisiana. They got them. Western Carolina. It took in. I mean, let's check the box for make sure. Vontario's only at 14, so they actually did a good job limiting Vontarius Woolbright, who, for those of you who do not know, that dude is an absolute stud. One of the best players in the country. Full credit to Vontarius Woolbright. And Louisiana Tech beat him. Louisiana Tech won the CUSA regular season title.
Good team.
Daniel Bacho had a really good game there. Bacho was at Texas Tech. Yeah. Like, you have to be really, really good to beat McNeese State, which crazy to say. This team's in the tournament. They are just an excellent shooting team. They don't turn the ball over. I think they have enough talent to beat Gonzaga here. Is this a game I'm particularly confident in? No. Hell, in my bracket, I'm probably going to pick Gonzaga. But Chris was really confident. They're Chris's boys. We're taking McNeese here.
Shouts, Will. I got you forever and always.
God, what a terrible person to stand for. It's better than Sean Miller, at least. Kansas Samford. We have a game here. Kansas Samford.
Oh, boy. Billy Ball. I'll let you take it first here, sadly.
I love Buckyball. I love Buckyball. I mean, Chris knows it. I talk about Buckyball a lot. Hell, I brought up Buckyball to my dad when I was back home for a few days. I love Buckyball. This is a bad matchup for them. This is just a bad matchup. Oh, my God. It pains my soul to say this. I had prepared to come on any show and talk about how much I love Buckyball. They're not winning this game. If Dickinson doesn't play, if he does not play, which I'm expecting him to play, I'm going to do more research on it, of course. We're going to see if Dickinson plays. If Dickinson does not play, I will be taking Buckyball in this game. If he does play, look, DeJuan Harris breaking that press, yeah, he can do that. He's, aside from Tyler Kolek, is DeJuan Harris the second best guard in the country, point guard in the country? He's up there. Just in terms of like settling a game, I have the wrong banner going. I've had the wrong banner going the entire time. That is tough. Bad job on the producer side.
Yes. No, they don't turn the ball over. And that's what, for those of you that haven't watched them, Samford wants to, they press for 40 minutes every single possession, and they try to get you to turn it over, get in transition. It's just not going to happen against Kansas too much.
Kansas has the size and athleticism. The biggest guy is Chor, who is a high major player in my mind. Yeah. Furphy, McCullough, Dickinson, Adams, they're all bigger, faster, stronger. Chor is great, and then it's Dallas Graziani. When Samford played against other high major teams that can replicate this, VCU beat them fairly bad. Purdue beat the fucking piss out of them. If you break the Samford press, they're not great. And you're giving me Bill Self 7 days to game plan. I love Bucky McMillan. I think he will be coaching a bigger program someday. This is not the game. This is just not the game. I think Kansas beats him. I think Kansas beats him fairly comfortably, and I hate saying that.
Yeah, agreed. We both love Samford and we love this team. If we're both taking Kansas, then everyone probably shouldn't take Samford, because if there's any reason to take Samford, I would love to exploit it, but I just don't see it. You're on mute there, pal. Stay hot.
I was on mute, so thank you. Yes. Hey, stay hot, so you ain't got to get hot. You know me. I was actively angry when I saw this draw. I was pissed, and for good reason. Samford's not winning this game. I will be rooting for Samford. Do not get it twisted. The 21st at 9:55 I will be Team Samford all the way through. This is the region of your guys. So boy. You know what? Just talk about whatever the fuck you want to talk about as these teams are on the screen.
Let's talk Creighton Akron first. Ali and Enrique Freeman are the names to know for Akron. The MAC winners. Ali. What's that?
Butler transfer.
That's true. Butler transfer and Akron transfer way back before he was a Butler transfer. Mm-hmm. Ali is a really talented athlete, and he does a lot of good things. And Enrique Freeman can blow up a scoreboard and can go for 25 at any time. That being said, I don't know how Akron really hangs around too much. I don't know how they guard Ryan Kalkbrenner. I look up and down the roster. I think Creighton's better at all 5 positions. And so I just don't see it. Akron is a fun 14 seed, and they have players that were around when Akron was in the NCAA tournament last, back in, I think, 2021, when they faced UCLA and gave them a pretty good game. But they lost that game, and they'll lose this one too.
Yeah. I actually think Enrique Freeman's a decent matchup for Ryan Kalkbrenner. I think
Too small.
Ali can kind of handle his own, but he's like physically strong.
He's
and
6'7", guarding a 7'1". Kalkbrenner will just
he's
throw
not
it
gonna be.
over him.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, and Creighton does really well on those like little lob plays that get it up to him. So I think that's a benefit to Creighton. And they don't have a matchup for Alexander or Shireman. Trust me, I watched Ali try to defend Big East level guys. It did not work.
No.
It did not work. It's not working this time either. It's just not happening. So we'll take Creighton. We'll come back to this game fairly quickly. The next game after that, because I did just ask people on Twitter what they want to hear about Creighton. South Carolina, Oregon.
Oh boy. This one was actually really, really hard for me. Mostly because Oregon is so hit or miss because of the injuries. We just haven't seen them at full strength a whole lot this year. And fading Lamont Paris, the coach of South Carolina, for those unfamiliar, is just not something I'm in the business of doing. But with that being said, Oregon is playing their very best they've played all year. And Ifeali Dante hit 11 straight shots against Colorado to seal the Pac-12 tournament. He's playing fantastic. Shellstad and a couple of the other freshmen, Evans, playing really good too. I went with the Ducks. Don't love it.
I agree with you. I went with the Ducks here. I think the Ducks are in a really good spot in this game. Just looking at the matchup in particular to me. And Ifeali Dante is the best player on the floor. Jackson Shellstad's the most talented guard on the floor. Michi's great. Michi's been so much fun this year. I'm so happy we got good Michi in college, because the dude was a high school phenom and he just kind of flamed out until this year when everyone completely forgot who he was. We got good Michi this year, so I'm very happy with that. But Ifeali Dante's the best player on the floor. Jermaine Cousinart's going to get buckets. He is an SEC. He was at the SEC. He's now here. Jackson Shellstad's a freshman. Kid's a stud. Karia Kwendo's going to make plays. Actually, is this a Jermaine Cousinard revenge game? It's a Jermaine Cousinard revenge game.
Is that true?
Yeah, he was at South Carolina before.
Yeah, he was. You're right.
So I was just looking at Ken Palm.
Yeah. Another kind of weird thing. It seemed to me. I watched the Oregon Colorado game on the plane. I watched it back when I was flying back from the Garden. And Ollie squared versus Trey Alexander, fun. Very true. Ollie squared. I like that. I'm going to use that. So thank you. I'm going to use that for my great preview. But Dana Altman generally mixes defenses a lot and throws a bunch at you in a short amount of time. And he didn't this year much. And he said in interviews and stuff throughout the year, like, well, we only had 6 guys at practice today. Well, we only have 5 guys at practice today because everyone's been banged up so much. Now, finally, everyone's healthy. And in that game against Colorado, now I didn't watch their win against Arizona. There was just too much going on with the 10 games we saw that week. But against Colorado, they mixed the shit out of their defense. Like, Colorado didn't know what to do with a lot of the time, and it took them 20 seconds into the shot clock, like every possession, just to get going, to see what Oregon had going on that side. So I think he's starting to pull the tricks out of the bag too, which is intriguing.
Yeah, and South Carolina is really going to try to slow the game down and just try to like muck it up in any way they can. And I don't know. I just think Oregon has the high-level athletes to create real problems. Like, teams that were able to beat South Carolina are just super. Clemson beat them not comfortably at home, but Alabama beat them fairly comfortably. Georgia went in there, but Auburn also beat them fairly comfortably. Those are teams that can speed the game up and have high-level athletes. I think this team is kind of similar to what we saw in Texas A&M last year, where A&M was really good entering the tournament. Then they just played a team that just kind of had a different style than the SEC had really seen. And A&M got smoked by Penn State. Penn State beat the piss out of them.
Yep.
I think this is a very similar spot. I think, I actually will add that back because we both agree we're both taking Oregon in this spot. Yeah, I think this game sets up really well for Oregon, and Ifeali Dante's best player on the floor. I don't think they have a matchup for him. And Colin Murray Boyles has had an excellent freshman season. I mean, that dude came out of nowhere. Stud. So happy for him. KJ Adams, Jesus. Kwame Evans, Che Evans. You can match up with him. They have multiple guys that can match up with him. Oregon's deep. Oregon's talented. And Ifeali Dante is going to cause real problems. So we both like Oregon. We'll move on down to what I truly believe is the worst first-round game of all of them. UVA, Texas, C, Colorado State. I hope Colorado State wins 2 games. That is all I'm going to say on that game. I have nothing.
Yeah, all the you kind of see this in certain years of like the tinfoil cap type people saying, well, the selection committee rigs the first 4 to make sure there's big like exciting matchups in the first round or in the play-in games. Well, they fucking did not even try to make it exciting this time. Virginia and Colorado State are so unappealing, it's unbelievable. That being said, I think Virginia actually kind of proves the country wrong and wins a game and gets to the Texas, but that'll stop there, right? Like Texas, they're playing their best ball of the year too here down the stretch. Dessou, it took him a little bit to get healthy, A, and then get going, B. Since he's been truly playing at full strength, I think they've looked a little bit better.
That is fair. Yeah, it took him a little while to get back in the starting lineup. He's only started 18 games this year. I didn't really want to go through and find what their record is in the 18 games. I didn't do that ahead of time, but
they play. I mean, yeah, it would be worse with him starting, I guess, just because.
Yeah, but you're also in like
all the non-con. Yeah, but yeah, like down the stretch, they beat Texas Tech and Oklahoma. All of their losses outside of like the Houstons and the Kansases, just because they're those teams are better. They played pretty competitively in like all of their losses.
I'm assuming Dessou wasn't full health when they went at West Virginia and home to UCF and lost. And since then, beat Baylor, won at Oklahoma. That's a really impressive win. Lost to the Mighty Mormons, lost to Houston, beat TCU at TCU. They're a good like road team too. They're really good on the road. They're good in those hostile environments. Barely lost at home to Iowa State, beat the piss out of West Virginia. At Houston, they weren't really competitive in that game. Beat Kansas State at Kansas. That's a tough place to play. At Texas Tech, they won. Home to Oklahoma State. At Baylor, Baylor's really fucking good. Yeah, I guess we'll pick Texas. I don't fucking know. It's Texas. Tennessee
Center, yeah, he's fun.
He's fun. Tennessee's beating Texas, right?
Yes, I do. Tennessee. This isn't my thought. This is Gary Parrish's thought initially, I believe, but he said that Zach Edey's the best player or the most dominant player in the country, but Dalton Knecht might be the best player in the country, and I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, I agree. So I already moved up to this game. I sent a tweet out that Chris finally gets to talk about Creighton. So we'll come back to it. We'll talk about Creighton again. Creighton versus Oregon. Give us your thoughts here.
Well, what do you think? I think the public knows where I'm going to go.
I don't like this game at all. What I assume is going to happen is this game's going to be like a 7-8 point spread. I'm going to bet Oregon to cover. I think I'm in that weird spot though where Oregon covers, Creighton wins. I am not particularly confident in this game whatsoever. I could talk myself into Oregon, frankly, very quickly. I know you're going to pick Creighton, and this is the Dinga and DeRosa bracket, so I'm going to support my friend and pick Creighton because they're not beating Tennessee. Just going up and down. Like I said there, N'Faly Dante is the best player on either team, in my opinion. I think N'Faly Dante is going to absolutely torch Ryan Kalkbrenner.
No,
he's too fucking strong.
A multi-time Big East player, defensive player of the year.
Do you really think he should have won defensive player of the year this year?
N'Faly Dante?
Do you think he should have won defensive player of the year this year?
He would have been my second pick. I picked Kadari Richmond for what it's worth, not even Devin Carter.
Donovan Clingan was a better defender.
Donovan Clingan played in like half of the games this year.
He's a better defender. I think N'Faly Dante is just too physically strong. He is a mean man inside. I think he's going to bully Kalkbrenner. And I think Jackson Shalstead is better than Stephen Ashworth. I just flat out think he is.
Maybe.
Then we go to the wings. I think actually Creighton has an advantage here. I don't think many teams in the country just have an advantage over Oregon's like guard wing duo. I think Trey Alexander, Baylor Shireman actually caused significant problems in this game. I think this is matchup problem versus matchup problem. To me, there are some flashbacks of the of the Oregon versus Iowa game where Oregon was just better. And like they had matchups at those spots because Oregon was talented, and they're going to mix up defenses and make Creighton have to work. But Creighton starting 5 will be fine to run the entire time in this game. I'm going to take Creighton. I am not confident in it whatsoever. I'm really kind of just taking Creighton because I know my friend Chris is going to want to take Creighton here. So I'm going to take Creighton.
I like it.
You talk about it though. This is your team. Tell me what I'm wrong about. Tell me why Creighton wins this game by double digits.
Baylor Shireman, to me, he was, before I saw Devin Carter live, he was my biggest player of the year pick. He is a completely unique player. He has accomplishments that no other player in the history of college basketball has ever had. As far as how many points, rebounds, 3-pointers made, and assists it is truly unique in the history of the game. He does it all. He does everything for Creighton at both ends. I think he's a fantastic. He is the best player on this floor. Not in Faley Dante. It's Baylor Shireman. It's not even close.
That's fair. That's fair.
And then Trey Alexander. He's a first-round draft pick. Ryan Kalkbrenner has been just a force down low in a conference full of fantastic bigs.
I'm gonna disagree with that. I don't think you based on the style Kalkbrenner plays, I don't think you call him a force down low. He's kind of soft.
I don't think he's soft. He plays as hard as you can without fouling. How about that? And it's not because he doesn't want to play hard. It's just
hard. He didn't go hard.
Ryan Kalkbrenner, if you get in foul trouble, buddy, Creighton's going to lose because Fred King he's inept down low. Let's be real about it. And so Ryan Kalkbrenner is fantastic. Creighton wins the game. I think by like a pretty fair margin. Also, that'd be fun because Dan Allman used to coach at Creighton.
Yeah, a little revenge spot and what could be Allman's last season. Just there have been some retirement rumors. Kansas McNeese, are we continuing the McNeese run, or are we just going to be realistic for a second and take Kansas?
I did. I continued the McNeese run. Kansas has some injury questions. They're not at full strength. Yeah, why not? Let's have fun. Spin the bottle here. Let's go.
I think I've went with your pick in this bracket every single time because I would honestly pick that matchup there. I gave you Creighton. I gave you a couple other teams. I don't think I can give you McNeese over Kansas.
It's fair.
Will Wade is a fine coach. Bill Self's a better coach than Will Wade. I feel like Bill Self in this spot against the team that everyone wants to beat them. I think this is just. Are we really making a Dante's Inferno pun in the chat?
Cool off for Dante. That's fantastic.
That was really well done, but that's such a dorky pun. I mean, to be fair, I am sitting on a show where we talked about McNeese. Like, I mean, as long as we went down the full fucking roster. So Captain Dork right here. DeRosa, you fucking stooge. Yeah, Kansas beating the piss out of McNeese. This game is not going to be competitive.
Do you think Kansas is that much better than Gonzaga? Like, is it not even close to you?
Yeah, Kansas would beat Gonzaga too.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I'm picking Kansas here as I turn off. Purdue or Utah State? You actually wanted to make a case for Utah State. I don't think Utah State stands a chance against Purdue, but your mic is hot. Go ahead.
Great Osabor and the guards shooting the light side of the ball gives them a chance. And then defensively, I think the team is good enough to compete. Once again, I read it off the top, but for those of you that weren't listening, Utah State as an 8 seed, 5 top 40 wins in KenPom, 0 sub 100 losses. They went 27-6 and won a conference with 6 bids in the NCAA tournament. It's a really impressive resume. They win these games for the some reason, right? They have great wins. I did pick Purdue, but I don't think it's a walkover. If the spread is even remotely close to like 10, I would be on Utah State.
So I just want to point out something for Utah State. In the non-conference, they didn't fucking play anybody. So this would be their first test against legitimate. I mean, Zach Edey's obviously a test in like different levels, but this would be a substantial test that they just haven't faced. And I think Lance Jones is an answer on point guard Darius Brown. And I think they have guys like a Mason Gillis can contain Great Osabor. I think that's a good matchup for them. I think they have a couple guys they can throw on him and just contain him. And Utah State doesn't have a matchup for Zach Edey. Purdue is invincible. I think TCU actually matched up fairly well with them. That said, I think this game sets up well for Purdue. I think Purdue's just better, so we're going to move Purdue on. All right, so we have our Sweet 16 laid out. We can kind of quick fire that game would not be a quick fire, so I guess we're going to start with a game where I'm going to talk a lot about UConn-Auburn. Actually, we'll zoom out so that people can see the top half picks. UConn-Auburn. You cannot really see that. Never mind. I lied.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, we'll just zoom in quick. I like Auburn in this game. I know you're going to disagree, and we have the rule, so we're going to go with the higher seed, so we're going to take UConn. But let me make my case for Auburn. Listen, this team is ranked 4th in KenPom. That's really good. That is really good. Like, this is not a game you expect to see in the Sweet 16. These are 2 teams that are better than Sweet 16 teams. These are 2 teams that are legit. These are 2 teams that can both really fucking go. Against UConn runs a lot of actions that are just really tough to guard. They're really they have that offensively that they can just go and go and go, and they run so much complicated action. The best way to defend that is to switch everything. You know who's probably the most switchable team in the country? Auburn. Auburn's a team that can speed them up. Auburn's a team that can switch 1 through 4, pretty much 1 through 5. They have athletic bigs that are going to cause problems. You're not going to get great looks inside. And Auburn just has so many different athletes. They have 7, 8, 9 guys that can switch with you with anything on the perimeter. This Auburn team is really talented. We saw that when they won the SEC, and they kind of walked through the SEC tournament, all things considered. This Auburn team is really good. This was a team I remember after day one, I said I slept on this team. And I did. Auburn is just really, really good. I think this team causes problems for UConn. This is a team that I think if you're going to make a bracket and you want to win your pool, I think you kind of, if you're in a decent sized pool, right? I'm talking probably over 15, 20 people, and you want to get number one, first place. I think you have to pick against UConn at some point. I think UConn is going to be the champion that just about everybody has. And if you want to stand out from the pack, you pick against them. And if you get that right, you can make mistakes early on in the bracket. You just say, look, if my champion wins, that is the round end. I think you kind of have to pick against UConn if you want to win your pool. Is there a chance UConn wins the tournament? You look like an idiot? Absolutely. But straight up, you play to win the game. And your best chance of winning is picking against UConn at some point. And I'm picking a team that is athletic, that is switchable, that does all the things you want. And I think Janae Broome can cause significant problems for Donovan Clingan, who I thought should have been Big East Defensive Player of the Year inside. I think they have great guards. I think they will just be able to switch everything UConn does. They will have size at positions on Castle, on Spencer, on Newton, on all those guys. They will pressure Newton. They will make Newton make mistakes. They have guys who can guard Caravan. I am taking Auburn in this game. I think Auburn wins it.
Okay. Two thoughts. I'll leave it at two because I don't think I can sway you. But one, I don't know how me and you sat right next to each other in conjoined seats, by the way, at Madison Square Garden and watched UConn dominate for 3 straight days. And I do not know how anyone could be at those games and say, this is not a Final Four team. I can't fathom it. They looked so good.
Just the region they have is so tough. I've seen some stats of this. I'm actually going to pull up Twitter because I DM'd this to myself to make sure I'd have it for the show. And I would have forgotten about it until just now. I'm logged into the wrong Twitter account. You keep talking.
The other point I would make is that Aiden Holloway, who is a great freshman for Auburn, he's a little bit erratic at times. He's not very consistent. In March, they've played 6 games now. He has had O ratings of 32, 63, 72. He kind of disappears at times. Against Mississippi State in March 2nd, 0 points, 0 for 1 from the floor. March 16th against Mississippi State, 0 points, 0 for 1 from the floor. I'm sorry, 0 for 3 from the floor. He just disappears. And when you're facing head-to-head against Tristan Newton, guess what? He's not going to disappear. Tristan Newton ain't going anywhere. And I think he dominates that matchup. And Donovan Clingan's too big. Janae Broome is a big player. He's tall. Donovan Clingan is big and dominant. UConn just has that edge about him right now that I just don't think anyone can beat him.
I don't know. When I look at this UConn team, I think, well, first of all, as I mentioned, I think if you're going to win your bracket pool, which kind of, let's be real, that's what people are watching. They're not look, if you can have a perfect bracket, of course, that's the dream. But let's be real here. That's just not going to happen. If you can win your bracket pool, I think one thing you kind of have to do is you kind of just got to beat UConn. I don't think UConn's going, I think everyone's going to pick UConn, and I think you kind of got to fade them at some point. And I think Auburn's the first matchup that I genuinely think Auburn's going to win this game. I've been very high on Auburn all year. I feel like we've had this exact conversation where, Auburn's just going to lose at some point. And I'm going to pick them to go too far. And it's probably what's going to happen here. UConn could beat them by 20. But I will say on your point of, one of UConn not being a Final Four team, because I have the stat pulled up. I was trying to get the screenshot, but I ain't got it. So we're just going to go on my Twitter. Shout out Jim Root, second chance points. Some of the Ken Palm rankings seeds 1 through 4 by region. The East is leaps and bounds better than everyone else. Part of that reason why is because Auburn's 4th in the country on Ken Palm. This does not look good. Holy shit, I got to zoom in.
Yeah.
Does that look better? Zoom in? Yeah.
Just hard region.
They are the best region, the toughest region. And that's what UConn's going up against. If UConn, there are a lot of complaints from UConn last year that they had to go against the toughest road. They had to go against a really weak road, and that's how they got there. Which, let's be real, it's not UConn's fault. They just fucking beat everybody by 20. Let's be real here for a second. That's not going to happen this year. They're going to play a tough road. And then we look at the seeds 1 through 6, just below. East 57. Next best is South at 82. The region is just really fucking tough.
Yeah, it is. My last Auburn point, though,
Sure.
would be
Also, Donaldson also has been starting lately, not Holloway. They've been playing Holloway off the bench. Sorry, continue.
That's true. But guess how many wins of top 25 Ken Pom teams Auburn has this year?
Is Florida top 25 Ken Pom team?
Nope.
They just beat them. Shit.
One.
Yeah.
They have one
Yeah.
top 25 Ken Pom win this year.
That's the point.
UConn has something like 6. Auburn hasn't shown it at that level. And their only win, by the way, was against Alabama at home, which is, I mean, Alabama, I think I view in the same vein where Auburn and Alabama juiced the metrics a little bit. They juiced the numbers by beating the shit out of everyone in the non-com that are terrible. So, kudos for that. That's great. But I think they're more smoke and mirrors than other teams in their seed lines.
Yeah, fair enough. I can't argue with that. I just think you're wrong, and Auburn's going to win that game. Because if Auburn does, I'm going to look really smart. And when they lose by 50, I look like a fucking idiot, and this is getting clipped. But oh well, that's the game we play. Illinois, Iowa State is the next game. I think we can. I don't know if we have to talk too much. We should. Fuck it. What's your lead on this one?
Illinois, and it's pretty simple. Rob Jones on the perimeter to guard Coleman Hawkins. No thanks. I don't think Jones is athletic enough to guard Hawkins on the wing. And then down low, if they try to bring Hassan Ward on him to limit the perimeter stuff, then, I mean, Coleman Hawkins just body him up down low. And Terrence Shannon is the best player on the floor. Let's be real.
Yeah, I think Iowa State had a really good season. I do not think they match up well with Illinois. I think Illinois is just too athletic, too talented. Frankly, I want to pick the Mighty Mormons. If I pick the Mighty Mormons to beat Illinois, I'm probably picking the Mighty Mormons to beat Iowa State too. I think Iowa State had a great season. They were excellent. I think they're just going to be a regular season darling. They're a team I'm looking to fade in the tournament.
Yep, me too.
Yeah.
They can't score, right? Like, they're just not a very good offensive team. And I know they just beat Houston by 1,000,000 points, and they're a great defensive team and everything. But in March, you need to be able to put the ball in the basket a little bit more than they do.
They're not great shooters either. Like, they're just not a well-balanced offensive team.
No, Milan's their only really bullseye, dead-eye shooter.
I think it's another interesting matchup. I think there's another team that can beat UConn.
This one was the one hesitation for me.
Yeah. I'll let you go first.
I mean, there was enough hesitation because I think Illinois is, to me, one of the only teams that would have a shot to beat UConn, but I just wouldn't pick against UConn right now. I just wouldn't. They're so balanced. Hassan Diarra won 6th man in the conference in the Big East, and having a guy like that off the bench that can give you real production and fantastic defensive minutes off the bench when Newton's not out there, that changes the game. And then Samson Johnson has gotten better throughout the year. He fouls a little bit, and so does Klingon down low, and so foul trouble is it's something to keep an eye on for UConn in the front court. But when you have 10 fouls to give, because both players are pretty solid, things end up working out. And then Caravan, we haven't even glossed on Caravan yet. Yeah. Fantastic shooter. I don't know. The team has it all.
Yeah. I would actually I'd pick UConn in this matchup. I think Castle will do enough on TJ. TJ Shannon's still going to get his. It's crazy that he's playing. But just beyond that, Coleman Hawkins is not having 4 good games in a row. That's not happening. He's just going to have a game where he just makes a ton of mistakes, and UConn's going to make him make mistakes. And I think UConn can take advantage of Damask defensively. I think Illinois has some positional switchability. I think that can also cause problems for UConn in a lot of the actions they run. But UConn's just going to hit shots. They're just going to hit shots. They're just going to make plays. I think it's a tough matchup for UConn, but if UConn gets as far, I absolutely think they beat Illinois. So the UConn Huskies will be our first team entering the Final Four. And we will go to this side. Houston against Duke.
Take it off. Yeah, what do you think?
Oh, I'll kick it off. Okay. Duke is going to get out muscled. Duke's more talented. Duke wants to play pretty boy ball. Houston's just going to muscle them up. And I have Jamal Shad versus Jeremy Roach. Jamal Shad is better. I have Jamal Shad versus a couple freshmen. Not okay. Very good freshman. Jamal Shad's just better. Houston's just going to muscle them up. They're going to make this game ugly. They're going to make this a grind. They're going to make it physical. They're going to muscle up Filipowski. Ryan Young's going to step in. They're going to muscle up Ryan Young. They're going to muscle up all these young kids. It is going to be grown men versus skilled kids. I'm going to take the grown men. I think Houston wins this game.
Yeah, I told you before we got on here that there was 4 games that I just wasn't sure on. This was one of them. Houston, you have some time to get right off of the Iowa State shellacking. One thing that Duke does really well, and I know you say they're soft, and that's kind of the consensus around the country. They don't give up offensive rebounds really at all. They're 56th in the country in offensive rebound percentage defense. That's one thing that Houston needs to live on. Like, they aren't a fantastic shooting team. They just live off of the glass and then also creating turnovers, 2 things that Duke just, don't give up very much. So I do think Duke is suited to be right in this game. Kyle Filipowski is the best player on the floor to me. Even still, I know he's been disappointing this year.
Shed?
Yeah, I mean, Shed's great. Look,
Shed should have been Big 12. Was Shed Big 12 player of the year? If not, he should have been.
No, but he was first team. I don't know. I think it's close, but I mean, you took Houston anyway, so it doesn't matter. I guess I would probably lean that way, but I do think this is one of the true toss-up games.
It was. Shed was.
Was he?
Yeah, Shed was Big 12 player of the year. I think he's great. Yeah, Jamal Shed has been incredible this season, and I think this is just a game Houston's just kind of built to win. This bottom game is very interesting. Kentucky Marquette. I was doing a show with Josh Burton. Shout out Josh. He's a huge Kentucky fan. One thing he mentioned is that Marquette has had success against Kentucky in the tournament. Granted, different coaches, different all that stuff, but Jimmy Butler beat him. Dwayne Wade beat him, and I think Marquette beat him one more time. So Marquette has had success against Kentucky in the tournament. Can Kentucky exercise those demons, or is Shaka Smart making another March run?
And by another March run, you mean his second, because outside of the VCU run, he's actually been horrific at this time of year. I think that's worth mentioning. So, people, rally against Cal in these moments in March and say hasn't been great in March because he hasn't won a championship in X amount of years. Well, guess what? Shaka isn't the answer there either. Oblique injuries are really weird. I had back surgery a couple of years ago. Oblique is not the back, but it's similarly enough where, if that's a problem and it's truly like it's hard to walk and do a lot of the things Tyler Kolek likes to do. He's very, he's really shifty, and he cross-body passes and everything over the head passes. So if he's limited at all, I would go ahead and lean Kentucky, but I want to believe that we get a full version of Tyler Kolek, especially since he'd have a little bit of time after the first weekend, to recoup. So I will go Marquette.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go Marquette here. For all the amazing things Kentucky does, like they're the best shooting team in the country. They are just not good defensively. No. And I think Marquette just has the athleticism and has the guys to really take advantage of that. Kolek doing that weave action they love running. Cam Jones and also Iguodala is going to cause problems for the Kentucky bigs too. He's going to cause significant problems. Yeah, I got Marquette in this game. I actually think this is a really good matchup for Marquette. I think it's a very interesting game, but I think Marquette rolls in the spot. And then we line it up, Marquette versus Houston. Are we going double chalk, or do you like the Golden Eagles to make a Final Four?
Man, it's interesting because I think I think both the odds of us actually getting a 1-2 in this one is so hard, because I think Duke and Kentucky really do have great chances. But if we got to this specific matchup, I actually kind of like Marquette.
Really?
I kind of do. I think Oso limits things down low for Houston, and then Kolek goes pound for pound with Shed. And if there's one thing that Houston does really well, it's just that they're super scrappy and physical and will out-grit you. Nobody's out-gritting Marquette. Not going to happen. That team gives it its all every single freaking second of the game. Stevie Mitchell, man, watching him 3 times too is another guy where it's just like, holy shit, man. That guy out hustles everybody. How many rebounds did we see him in one little week there at MSG get over guys that are 4 or 5 inches taller than him just because he just wants it more? So I kind of like Marquette.
So I like Houston in this game. I disagree with you. One major reason for why I like Houston in this game. Houston is the 13th best offensive rebounding team in the country. And keep in mind, that is in the Big 12. Big 12 is big guys. Big 12 is physical guys. That is something like Big 12 teams do really well, is rebound. Houston's 13th best offensive rebounding team in the country. Marquette gives up a ton of offensive rebounds. A ton. They're 268th in the country in defensive rebounding rate, 278th in offensive rebounding rate. And also Marquette doesn't get to the line a ton. I think this is a game where they could get to the line more, but Houston's defense, I think, is just going to suffocate them. Marquette's going to try to play pretty ball, and pretty ball doesn't work against Houston. You're going to have to be able to muck up a game, and Houston's just got size at these guard positions. I think they're going to cause problems, and I think they're just going to bully Marquette down low, and they're not going to give Marquette easy shots. Tyler Kolek is going to have to play a masterful game because I think they're going to pressure him all game long. I think they're going to be mean. I think it's going to get physical. I think they're going to get fucking ugly out there. And I think that favors Houston. It's going to be played at Houston's pace, Houston's tempo. They're not going to let Marquette run all those pretty little actions they run. They're just going to jump in front of that. They're going to stuff that. And they're going to force turnovers. They're going to force Kolek to play under pressure. And if Kolek plays a perfect game, which he will have to make Marquette make this Final Four. And if there's one guy you want to rely on to play a perfect game, it's Tyler Kolek. I do not think he will. I do not think he can. And I think you're going to need other guys to hit a ton of shots that are going to be difficult shots. And when Marquette really runs 6-7 guys in this spot, a lot of those guys are kind of undersized. Like David Joplin plays the 4, but he's really a 3. He's going to have to bang inside. And I think that is a significant advantage for Houston. When you get him not doing what he wants to, he's going to get tired quicker. I think this is the worst possible matchup for Marquette in the tournament. I think they match up well enough-ish with UConn. We haven't seen Tyler Kolek play against UConn, unfortunately, after they got dismantled in the first game. So UConn's another tough matchup, but thankfully they avoid him for a while. But just looking at the other ones, they already beat Purdue this year. And I think they match up really well with North Carolina. I think they got a tough draw having to go against Houston. And I think this is a game Houston to lose. And since we're going with our rule, and I want to give myself a pick, fuck you. Houston's entering the Final Four.
Fair.
And we're going
Can I give you one more pitch?
Go ahead.
Houston, the only 2 defenses they saw that are as good as Marquette's, to me, and as well as Mr. Pomeroy, I believe, are Iowa State and Kansas. And they split with Kansas and lost 2 out of 3 to Iowa State. So against defenses of that caliber, I think they're 2-3 on the year.
Wow.
I don't know.
Okay, this actually really. So there are 2 other Big 12 teams that are up there. According to Mr. Pomeroy, this actually really surprised me.
So since he's close,
UCF was the 15th ranked defense on KenPom.
Yeah, that's true, but they're not. I mean, comparing Marquette to UCF seems unfair.
Yeah.
Let's say tournament teams of that caliber defense.
Houston beat them twice, and they were Houston in the second game scored 67 points. In the first game, they only scored 57. They just limited the other side to 42. And then in the other game, the other team was Cincy. Let's check how they did against Cincy. They beat Cincy by 8 at home, and they did not play. Oh no, they did play Cincy on the road. Beat them by 5. Also scored 67 points in both games. So yeah, it's a fair enough point. I also think, though, Marquette is the worst rebounding team of those 4 teams. I think it's going to hurt them. Maybe
UCF.
I thought UCF was good at that stuff and they can't shoot. I could be wrong.
Well, they can't shoot, certainly, but I think there's a few problems with Mr. Dawkins' group.
They're 59th in offensive rebounding rate, 103rd in defensive rebounding rate. Marquette's just a level below that.
Okay.
Same. Cincinnati would be 10th in offensive rebounding rate, which is really surprising. 51st in defensive rebounding rate.
All right, so we got the Cougs. Moving on.
With the Cougs. However, Chris made some good points there. So if you like Marquette, I'll give the kid credit. He made a decent case. We'll go to North Carolina Grand Canyon. I assume you want to pitch Grand Canyon here. So your mic is hot. Go ahead.
Roll the dice with me, man. Come on, let's get crazy. There has to be one double-digit seed here in the Elite Eight. This is our one, man. This is our only shot. RJ Davis and Bacon.
It could be. We
We do have.
Sweet 16 too.
That's true, and I will pitch for them as well. My dear boys. No, I can't do it. Sorry. I think I have to go to North Carolina.
Yeah, I think North Carolina should be better.
Too good. Yeah.
Baycott
is a problem for GC. Yeah. If we got this matchup, Baycott goes for 30 and 20.
Yeah, RJ Davis too. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm with you. We're gonna pick North Carolina. I ain't got to debate too much on it. Are you gonna make a case for New Mexico here?
This one I will. In my personal bracket, I do have New Mexico going to the Elite Eight here. I don't trust Caleb Love to win three games in an NCAA tournament back to back. I know he did it once in his career. I don't think we see the encore here. They're too, hit or miss. Arizona, they lose to Stanford. They have some head shaking losses, man. And New Mexico, in their conference play, they've been pretty clean. They have lost to some teams, but they've been, upper echelon teams in that conference. And Jalen House, Dent, and Mashburn are all, pound for pound, I think they're a better trio of guards than Arizona's three. Of Oswell and Love.
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if their guards are better. And I think Umar Ballo causes problems inside for New Mexico. I think it's actually be a really fun game. In a bracket I did earlier, I had Arizona winning the national title. I think when Arizona is on and they're playing their best basketball, if we can get 6 games of the best Arizona possible, I think they can win the national title. However, Arizona doesn't play their best basketball for 6 games in a row. They just don't do that. They do not do that. So I'm living in fantasy land trying to do it even marginally attempt to will that into existence. Like Arizona lost at Stanford. They lost at FAU.
Oregon State.
At Oregon State,
man.
Washington State swept them. And then they lose at USC to end the season. Then they don't win the Pac-12 tournament because they lost it to Oregon or on a neutral to Oregon. So, yeah, I don't know here. Yeah, you know what? We don't pick enough fucking upsets. I'll give you the one. Fuck it. We'll go New Mexico.
I think they can do it. Like, that's not even a bias thing for New Mexico because I love them. Like, that team is really, really talented and they're peaking at the right time.
I am going to point out right here, though, we are not having 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four. So.
Oh, I don't plan on it. No.
Good. Okay. We're having North Carolina beat New Mexico, right? Ooh. Okay. Look, go.
We were on the House podcast yesterday, and someone brought up a good point. I think maybe it was Trev.
It was Trev. Shout out Trev. Great.
Yeah, shouts Trev. But I have rethought about things, and I'm going to go with the Lobos in the Final Four in my bracket.
Make the case.
Look, they really are playing their best, and I was not sold on Nelly Jr. Joseph, who's their center, transferred from Iona, shipped in from Patino to another Patino, but he's looked great as of late. Like Kashad Johnson and in the Arizona game, and then Jaden Ledee would be here for he played Jaden Ledee, in the Mountain West Championship game, and he held him pretty solidly. And JT Toppin's so athletic. The 3 guards, the bench is actually surprisingly good. They don't rely on the 3, but they can hit it at a high clip. Like everything I look at, to find a upset team to make a run, they just have it. It's that formula. So, I kind of like them. I know you are probably leaning the other way.
Yeah, I am. I would have picked Arizona if this was my bracket. I have Arizona getting them here. I think Arizona gets there, and I think Arizona's my Final Four team. So since we didn't pick Arizona, would you have picked Arizona to beat UNC?
I would have. Yep.
Fuck. Sounds like that's what I should have.
New Mexico's going to do this.
It's too late. I didn't pick Arizona. Fuck it. New Mexico's in our Final Four. Why not? Let's get crazy. Let's get fucking crazy. You know what? This is Dinga and DeRosa. We get crazy here. What does New Mexico to make the Final Four pay? Well, I'll look at that as you break down the game on our screen, Purdue, Kansas.
Purdue, Kansas. I think I would take Purdue. Spoiler alert, I'm not sure what you'll do, so it doesn't matter, I guess. But I wouldn't have Purdue in the Final Four. I don't have Purdue in the Final Four. I don't see a way in which Purdue beats either of Tennessee or Creighton. Well, there's a way, but I don't think it happens. But I do think they have enough to beat Kansas if this is the matchup. Dickinson down low has been solid. I think he's been pretty much what Kansas could have expected out of him, but Edey's just, I mean, he's another level, man. And then Lance Jones and the guard play really has kicked it up a notch this year. Mason Gillis does not provide enough on the wing defensively to maybe keep in check, if he switches on McCullough or whatever. I don't know. I think Purdue would get it done.
All right, I have the New Mexico odds pulled up. New Mexico going to make the Sweet 16 is plus 240. That is a bet I'm probably going to place. New Mexico make the Final Four. They are the 6th most favored team in that region. Arizona 2-1, North Carolina plus 260, Baylor plus 650, Alabama 8-1, St. Mary's 10-1, New Mexico tied with Michigan State at 22-1.
There are worse things to bet on.
Yeah, there are definitely worse things to bet on. Grand Canyon 75-1.
Also worse things to bet on. Also, I think they have a better chance of losing round 1 than New Mexico. Like if I'm going to have to endorse one flyer, it would certainly be New Mexico and not Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Interesting. 22-1. Yeah, but I agree with you. Just to pull the screen back up. We're taking Purdue in this game. Purdue's just better at all. I just think Purdue matches up really well. The guards, I don't think are going to be really taken advantage of, and I think they don't have anyone for Zach Edey. Though Hunter Dickinson does get his own against Edey. Like he is used to going up against Zach Edey, and
yep.
Shit, you were also giving Bill Self versus Matt Painter 6 days.
No, they can't shoot enough, man, and there's
That's
no
true.
depth. Also, yeah, like Zach Edey draws more fouls than anyone in the country. What if somebody gets in foul trouble? There's no one that is even worth a damn on the Kansas bench. No way. They don't win.
That's a good point. Yeah. All right. Good point. You convinced me to be sane. Wow. I know how this is going to go. So I'll let you make the case for Creighton so I can make the case for Tennessee.
No, I mean, I can do it for the fun of it because it is, I will have Creighton in my personal bracket, but this one would be tough for the Jays. You would have to exploit things down low against Tennessee. I think that's the formula to beat them. Creighton certainly can if they establish Kalkbrenner, but they don't always seem to want to do that. But like Adu's been fine defensively for Tennessee, but I think Kalkbrenner would be just fine down low. Dalton Connect is the best player in this game. It would probably be Trey Alexander guarding him, and Trey's a good defender, but shoot, I don't know. It smells like a Connect 30 bomb type of game to me.
Yeah, Tennessee's not going to turn the ball over in this game. Like Creighton doesn't force turnovers at all. Tennessee doesn't really turn the ball over at all either. And I think Zakai Ziegler and Santiago Vescovi are going to have poor Stephen Ashworth in fucking hell. And Creighton's not deep. Tennessee, I think, can wear them down over a full 40 minutes. Tennessee is a very good defensive team inside the arc. They run teams off the three-point line, and they move the ball really well offensively when they want to. Sometimes they just go connect ISO mode, which I think is probably Creighton's best possibility of winning this game is if they just go connect ISO mode. But you want to know the problem with that is? That means Dalton Connect gets the ball every time down. And he's going to score a lot. You mentioned it could be a Connect 30 bomb. The dude is just that good, man. Yeah. And then they just have the wings, I think, to create problems like Triple J, Jemai Mayshak, Jordan Gainey, Tobias Waka inside. I think they have guys that they can put on Alexander or Shireman to slow him down a little bit. And I don't think Mason Miller creates real problems for Tennessee. Like, they could probably rest Connect on Mason Miller defensively and then just say, all right, you don't really have to move. Just don't let this guy get open for three. All right, we have the ball. All right, go ahead and score.
What I will say, though, Tennessee gives up a lot of threes. The other team shoots a lot of threes. Creighton shoots the three pretty well. Everyone can shoot it. I don't know. There is certainly a formula, and I think this is another almost 50-50 game to me. Like, Creighton really could win this. If they shoot the ball well, I think they win. If Baylor Shireman is on, I think they win. Who knows, right? That's the love and the hate with relying so much on shooting jump shots is that sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. It becomes really hard to predict. Yeah.
Tennessee's winning this fucking game. Tennessee's just better. One thing Tennessee doesn't do particularly well defensively, I think it's probably the worst thing they do defensively. They foul a ton. Problem is, Creighton doesn't really draw a ton of fouls.
They almost draw no fouls.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they're just going to try to play pretty boy, and I think that kind of plays in the favor of Tennessee. So we're going to take Tennessee here. And we have a rematch. Tennessee played Purdue early in the season. Purdue, I believe, won that game. Yeah, Purdue did win that game.
Back in Maui. This whole region, right? You exchange Marquette for Creighton, and then you have Maui. Kansas, Purdue, and Tennessee, which is funny. But I would go Tennessee here personally. Regardless of who wins the Creighton-Tennessee game, we took Tennessee. I think whoever comes out of that pod beats Purdue. Tennessee is really good.
Interesting. But if Edey draws fouls on Kalkbrenner, Creighton's fucked.
Fun fact, Zach Edey was the backup recruit for Purdue. They initially wanted Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Interesting.
Just Creighton. Yeah. But yeah, the Kalkbrenner Edey would be fun. If this was the matchup, Tennessee has enough bodies down low to throw at Edey. Like I said earlier, like Adu and JJJ is a lot smaller, but I still think he could be somewhat effective, like fronting him at times. And then defensively, Purdue is just, the guards are, to me, too slow to kind of keep up with what Tennessee tries to do on that end. And maybe Vescovy has a big day. I think Tennessee wins at Rick Barnes. Give me a Final Four.
All right. Our Final Four is right here. We have UConn playing New Mexico and Houston playing Tennessee. Do the Lobos continue the miracle run? Do we have a miracle champ seeded 11? Or does the best team in the country just beat them?
Best team in the country beats them. Yeah, that's the end. End of the run.
It was a good run in New Mexico.
It was.
Houston, Tennessee on the other side, a much more interesting game.
What do you got here?
I'm going to go with my national champion's going to play in this game. Because, as I said, I think if you want to win your bracket pool, I don't think you can pick UConn. I think everyone is going to pick UConn. I think you kind of have to fade that and just hope you are right. I think that gives you the best chance to win, in my opinion. And if UConn wins, if 15 people, if you're in a 20-person bracket pool saying 12 of them pick UConn to win it, that means your bracket has to be better than those 12 if you want to win and get the ultimate prize. Versus if 8 people don't pick UConn and UConn doesn't win, the pool's smaller there, and if you pick the right champion that 1 or 2 other people will pick, you are sitting pretty and likely winning your pool. I think that's what it comes down to. So I think just game theory-wise, my belief would be you fade UConn. So I'm going to make the last pitch at that. And the team I'm going to pitch is Tennessee. Listen, Tennessee is absolutely possible to have one of those games where they just do not shoot it well. But they pressure the ball really well. And when it comes down to it, the best player in this Final Four, his name is Dalton Connect. That dude can get 30 any night. I think it is going to be a problem for him just because Houston has multiple guys that can throw at him. But I think some of the other guys can make plays. Zakai Ziegler, Santiago Vescu. You have JJJ in the corner who can hit shots. And this team they are capable of playing that grindy, gritty defensive game. They just have physical pieces up front who are not afraid. Tobe Awaka in this game will probably play 12 minutes and he will probably foul out. That is just going to happen. And I love Tobe Awaka. He will foul out in this game, and I fucking love that. I love that energy. Jonas Adu, same thing. I think they can play physical. I think they can play ugly, and they can hit shots. Tennessee, this is a different Tennessee team because they are not terrible shooting the 3. They're willing to shoot it, and they can hit some of those shots. They shoot 34.2% from 3. If they're really on, they can beat absolutely anybody. We've seen them have some real ceiling games. Like they beat Illinois pretty comfortably. They go into Wisconsin and beat them pretty comfortably. They beat the fucking piss out of Ole Miss. That game felt really good to the heart because I picked him very heavy in that spot. My champion is probably Arizona right now. I'm not confident in that whatsoever. Yeah. Tennessee. I don't fucking know. Let's do it.
Yeah. I was against the Houston agenda, the last 2 rounds against Duke and then also against Marquette. I think kind of the linchpin game for me is Tennessee Creighton. I would have whoever wins that game in the national championship. So we went with Tennessee. So it's Tennessee here for me as well, which would set up, man, what a fun final. Dan Hurley, Rick Barnes. Yeah. Donovan Clingan and Tristan Newton, and actually really just like a balanced team versus kind of a one-man show with Connect. This would be a fun one. I don't know where you're going to go, but I would certainly lean heavy towards the Huskies.
I mean, I've made my game theory case many times.
Yeah, but who wins this game? Like if you were like, you have to throw your life savings money line, Tennessee and UConn on a neutral, picking UConn. Yeah. The best team in the country.
They are. And I genuinely think Auburn could beat them. I do. I think Illinois is a tough matchup for him. I think if this bracket went differently and we had Arizona, I'd pick Arizona over UConn too. That you cannot see that in the picture. I'll have to zoom in. If we went Arizona here, I would have had Arizona beating UConn. So I gave you New Mexico, just like fuck around and find out. We'll have some fun. I also would have had Arizona beating UConn. But no, I guess in the end, we're going with the Huskies.
The Huskies repeat.
They're really fucking good, man. They're so
good.
So balanced. Donovan Clingan is elite defensively inside. Tristan Newton is playing at an All-American level. Cam Spencer is in the perfect role for him. He can be that energy guy, and he is just a laser from deep. They're using Stefan Castle about as well as you possibly could. UConn.
Yeah, I had talked to Matt Norlander of the Big East tournament at MSG, and I was like who beat no, but who beats UConn? Like, who can do it? And he was like, honestly, I don't know. like they just look so good right now, and so everything they are doing, it has a purpose. And offensively, Hurley is a way better X's and O's guy than people give him credit for. Like, he gets his shooters the ball in the correct spots with a lot of fun, unique action in college basketball, which people don't realize. People just see like a hothead on the sidelines. Like, he's very, very, high IQ guy on the offensive X's and O side of things. But yeah, give me the Huskies. Let's roll, man. Hell yeah. How about that? New Mexico, Final Four.
Yeah, we have New Mexico in the Final Four. Look, to be fair, if you are going to pick UConn, I think the best way to do it to try to win is you're going to have a greasy pick somewhere. And our greasy pick is fucking New Mexico. Why not? Why not? Do we want to go through the bracket one more time? Or, I mean, what? If you listen this far, you remember all our fucking picks.
Yeah, I think we're good. We'll put this on the podcast stream as well, or else on Twitter you can just like rewatch things, right? Is that?
Yeah, you could just scroll through and like rewatch. Yeah, and it's on the YouTube too, if that's easier for you. House Enterprise YouTube page.
Cool.
All 7 people will watch there.
Yeah, Michael forgot, but we picked Yale to the Elite Eight or Sweet 16 as well. Michael just forgot about it. I don't think the bracket says it either, but we did.
Yeah, no, the bracket actually doesn't say it either. The bracket has like, if this was Michael's bracket, he would have, where are they? There we go. This team beating UConn right here. But
wasn't going to let it happen.
Man, Michael's a nice guy. The Mighty Mormons, too. Shout out the Mormons. Like, come on. You know how fun it would be if they make the Sweet 16? King Ali Khalifa, the people knowing about the king. Come on. The king. Our king. King Khalifa.
We got to get out of here. Michael, any last shouts?
Shout out to the people. We had a lot of people watching, so big shout out to the people, anyone who came through. That is a good point. What if Richard P gets the handicap of his dad coaching with him? Because Rick Pitino was not in the tournament. He could just show up and coach a game. Does that change anything?
All white suit? Hell yeah. That's 3 points in the spread.
And we could get that guy who was heckling him back. That's Rick Pitino.
The red jacket guy?
Yeah, we get red jacket guy back heckling him.
We're on to something. I'll call Rich right after this and see what we can mix up. But anyways, yes, Michael is right. Thank you everyone for listening. Shouts again to our sponsor at the top of the show, Rhythm. Really cool platform and fun AI betting tool. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys later.
See you, everybody.